Good Monday morning and welcome to Midnight's Edge in the Morning. I'm Tom Connors. We're back again. We have the boss man Andre with us. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Ask me again in about 10 minutes.
Okay,
Also with us is Mike, the Mexican Iron Man, the producer extraordinaire. How you doing?
Very taco-licious.
Taco-licious.
Yeah, so basically in need of some rabbit chickens.
Yeah, I had taco. I made myself homemade tacos, so I'm taco-licious.
Well, from one coast to another, we've got Script Doctor in Canada. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How is everybody today?
Doing the best we can.
Lovely.
We also have the one, the only George, the Giant Slayer, with us. How you doing, George?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
George, he's got a beautiful soul.
That, of course, is last but not least, the one, the only Culture Casino.
Hey,
Hairless
everybody.
Casino today, but yes.
I am glad to be here, guys. We're gonna have some fun. There's some good topics to talk about. I'm stoked. Let's go.
Yes, indeed. We're getting lots of love for George in the chat already. I want to thank you guys for being here. Hit that like button, hit that share button, get the word out there. Our support goes out to Nick Ricada. We heard what was going on. It seems like him and any other independent YouTube channels that are showing the case that shall not be named now because YouTube likes to do what they do is being shut down. But they're back up, so thankfully they got that taken care of. But I'm sure it's no help, thanks to no help from Team YouTube anyway. But anyhow, moving on, Andre. So what are we up to this morning?
Well, we have quite a few things to discuss outside of YouTube. Suddenly realized, oh shit, maybe taking down a stream full of lawyers wasn't the hottest idea. We have some cool topics today. Of course, we have the Eternals box office update, and it is faring at the box office. How do we put it? Exactly as expected. So we're going to have some fun with that. We'll be talking about the Frankensteinian abomination in the eyes of God. That is that huge, freaky red dog that is also giving the Eternals a run for its money at the box office.
Unbelievable.
And then, of course, we have Ridley Scott. Great filmmaker, according to some. Opinions are divided on the subject. And he has also decided to speak out against comic book movies. Talk about throwing stones while you're in the glass house, or whatever the saying goes. Then, of course, we'll see what you guys bring up in the chat. So, as usual, I think we're going to have a fun show today, and we have some great people watching us. We already have more than 500 watching. Everyone, please smash that like. Help share the stream. We have deleted scenes here who, of course, caught what I was talking about, saying, let's go Clifford. Indeed. And Rick, sorry about that. Lucy is here, and he also needs some tacos. And yeah, we also need some tacos. Keely Chow is here saying, hey, Cultured Casino. And I'm going to add that's a nice new look you got there. And prepare to wipe up the tears of women and men everywhere.
That's true.
But it's all for a good cause. Wow. Everyone go check out Cultured Casino's channel for some more details on that.
Oh, yeah.
We have the Norwegian Blue, who's not actually Norwegian, saying, let's go. Indeed. We have D. Bud Martin here. We have Dash Attack here. Ram Bam 3000 is here. Cody Guy is here. And Sander Hammerslag, Wild Rose, and D. Bud Martin is here. We also have a couple of super chats. Deleted scenes. Stephen, our good friend, says for $5. Hail, Andre, Tom, Mike, Script, Culture, George, Wrenches, and chat. Can't stop the signal. They can try, though, but as long as they don't succeed, then all is good.
Yeah.
Let's go through a couple of other super chats before we move on with the show proper and start having fun with the Eternals. Because again, as we like to say, there's or at least that I like to say, there's no Freude like Schadenfreude, and we can take a little bit of that in the Eternals box office.
Yeah.
Then we have a couple of Scandinavian super chats here. We have Joachim Stark representing Sweden saying, the series Doomcock recommended last night, Inside Job. Watch it. It might be the best on Netflix right now. Hit the like button. Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, I'll check out Inside Job when opportunity
Joachim, I saw
permits.
2 episodes last night after the Doomcock show. It is freaking hilarious.
What's it about?
It is imagine it's first of all it's animated, and it's well, I'll use what DC said, which is that it's like The Office animated, but they work in a secret military paranormal underground office, like deep state kind of stuff. It is hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious.
Good. Has anybody checked out that new Blade Runner animation, the Black Lotus? I was just watching a few minutes late last
No, I
night.
heard about it, but I haven't had a chance to see it.
Yeah,
yet.
it's interesting so far, the first 10 minutes.
Yeah,
Has anybody
all right.
seen
It's on my list.
Has anybody seen Red Notice, the big budget Netflix film?
Also on my list. I'm going to see
All
it
right.
probably next
Is that
week.
the Gal Gadot one with
Yeah.
The Rock? I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody let me know if it's any good, please.
Okay.
There's only so much Ryan Reynolds I can take in a year. I just saw him in Free Guy. I mean, that whole like Ryan Reynolds as Ryan Reynolds character. God, there's only so much of him I can take in a year.
The only new thing I've seen lately was the Rocky 4. So
Oh, how was it? I'm going to watch it
it was
tonight.
all right. I got yelled at by everybody because when I talked about it the other night, they're like, "Are you crazy? It's full of different alternate takes." I'm like, it's still the same fucking movie.
Yeah, come on. It's Rocky. It wouldn't even matter if it was a new film. It's Rocky. You know how it's going to go. There's not really.
Well, there is some differences in it, but it's like basically if you hate that robot, you'll love the new version.
Oh, I
it is a
hated
bit
the
more-
robot.
Yeah, so it's a little bit more serious, but
Okay.
I'm curious if somebody who has never seen the film before would actually know what the fuck was going on, because there's like 30 minutes of the movie missing.
Okay.
And to me, it feels like important, stuff you need to know.
In other words, this is a case of stick with the theatrical cut.
Maybe it feels like a big fan edit. I don't know. You might like it, actually, Andre. It's hard to say.
I thought
'Cause
I thought they were supposed to
I have a
add
problem with the
time to
robot.
it.
So-
Weren't they supposed to add time to it originally?
They did add stuff. There is
Okay.
a couple added scenes, but a lot of it's stuff that was taken care of just easily with dialogue in the other version. There was only like 1 or 2 things that were really kind of added that
Oh,
were like stuff that wasn't in the other version, really, and it's very minimal.
okay.
Like there was
okay.
only like 1 thing that I felt like was a bigger deal. The ending's a little different, but it's more or less just the movie ends in a different place. There's a lot of alternate takes, and Stallone added some new dialogue to 1 bit, and there's some other things here and there. But I don't know. It felt like a fancy fan edit to me, and I'm just like,
Do you think it was a cash grab more than actually a director's edit?
I don't know. Maybe I feel like it'll. I don't know why MGM would let him mess with that one, because that's probably the most popular one besides the first one.
Yeah.
And then the 5th one is the one that needs a recut. But
Oh,
since he
yeah.
didn't direct that one, I mean, that's probably why he won't touch that one. So I don't know. It doesn't feel like a total cash grab, but
Okay.
it does feel like there was much to do about nothing in the end. I mean, it does have a bit more of a serious tone. It reminded me of the Godfather Coda recut.
Oh, yeah. Some people really didn't like that. I really had high expectations for it. I had read that, they're going to change what happens to Apollo, and you're going to see a more serious, more centered Rocky, like in
no.
Rocky 1.
Now, the only difference there is it kind of centers a little bit more on Apollo worrying about being a has-been. Yeah.
Does it tie in anything to the new universe with Creed?
No.
Oh,
not
okay.
really.
Okay. So,
No.
all right.
Sounds like a pretty waste, if you ask me. Then, but yeah. But speaking of new movies we've seen, I was at the cinema this weekend. Of course, Tom and Mike already knows this, but I went to see a great CGI special effects extravaganza, namely Paw Patrol. So yeah, I was in a theater with my kids.
CGI beauty.
And actually, it wasn't bad. I'm not a huge fan of Paw Patrol, not by a long shot, but for a wholesome movie for the kids, it was pretty good. So
Well, I
kudos.
do remember, like when they were it was under attack. You were kind of
yeah,
like,
that's
"Not
why I
that
brought it
bad of
up,
a
because I
show," and
remember
you're
like last year, people wanted to see the lead dog in Paw Patrol, Chase, who's a police dog, or rather a police puppy. They wanted to see him euthanized because he portrayed police in a good light. You can't do that. But I'm very happy to say that they did not give in to the demands. They did not either portray him in a bad light or kill him or anything like that. On the contrary, they humanized the little puppy as much as possibly can be done to an animated puppy. So kudos. Go see Paw Patrol if you have sufficiently young kids. Otherwise, there's really no need. But it's probably better than Clifford, the giant abomination in the eyes of God.
Wow, Clifford actually put up a fight against Eternals, but we're going to talk about that here in a moment.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. But first, we have a couple more super chats to go through. Perilous Plane, another representing Scandinavia, my own homeland, in fact, says, check out this clip. If veterans rule the world, Starship Troopers. I love the Starship Troopers book. The films are proto-woke. Go away and never come back. We deserve a good Starship Troopers miniseries. And yeah, he sent me the clip that we're talking about. It's an hour long, so I haven't seen it. But just look for If Veterans Rule the World, Starship Troopers. I think you'll find it that way, an hour-long clip. It seemed pretty interesting. So I look forward to seeing the rest of it. And then we have the Waltman 4, who says for $4.99, switch between Midnight's Edge and Requeta right now. And even then, they just sniped Nick Stream for policy violations. Yeah, that was messed up. But I think he was like back up again last we checked. Thank God for that. But so I can only imagine they must have realized that, oh, shit, like taking down a whole panel full of lawyers, that might actually do some damage here. I can't imagine otherwise.
Yeah. Well, it looks like the numbers for Eternals, because I think it was Valiant who was asking over under on 25. I went over, but it was right. It was over 25, but it was still under 30. That's for sure. Holy crap.
Yeah, and we'll get into that momentarily. Ironcaster says, looks like the critics are tossing Cowboy Bebop under the bus.
Oh,
watch out for that story. Yeah, I bet that this is something.
Well, that makes me wonder, though, because I know everybody's quick to be like, yep, we were right. It's shit. But maybe the critics aren't liking it because it ain't woke enough for them.
Well,
yeah.
I've read a couple of the bad reviews so far from a few of the mainstream reviewers. In fact, that was something I talked about in the 6 Minute Daily, and they don't like it, but kind of for like the same reasons that I may not like it, because the question was by one of the reviewer from the Hollywood Reporter was that did you guys watch this and figure out what you were going to do with it going in? Because it doesn't feel like it, and I that's my concern, is like, did these people go in here with the right idea about creating it? And then after we've heard about the lady that wanted to make sure that Faye Valentine looked nothing like
the designer,
it was supposed to be. She
didn't want to sexualize her.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, well, wait a minute, she's a femme fatale. That's part of the gig. I mean, same thing with Black Widow and so on and so forth. But I thought it was interesting. So I have a feeling that'll be one of the times the critics and the fans are gonna probably agree. If that's really, they really went in there with no plan and they didn't do it justice, then it's not gonna be worth it.
Yeah, I think I think when I was reading about it, I was trying to find comparisons between the anime and what's coming up with the live action. And I couldn't really find many reviewers who were comparing it. They were just basically focused on I think one of them called it, it plays more like a cover band knockoff. It's not like in that aspect. It has the overall aesthetic down, but it's just missing that spark.
Oh, all right.
Speaking of sparks, we got Jesse Miller joining us as well. Good morning, sir.
Hey, Jesse.
Hey, how you boys doing?
You must not have to work today, or you don't normally work Mondays anyway, do you?
No, I'm Tuesday, Saturday.
That's right. So how you doing this morning?
I had a nice leisurely morning, nice coffee, played some games, and just dicking around, really.
Coffee's good to wake you up.
Wow,
Yeah.
Jesse's going with the I'm growing my Santa Claus beard early this year.
It's no shave
Oh man,
November.
I got to shave this thing, and it's gotten so long that it's gonna be a pain. And
He's
I don't
gonna
want
play
to.
Santa this year.
He's going to be Santa. That's right.
I got a good head start. Speaking of mornings, Phantom Boomer says for $5, good morning. Nice. I don't have to stay up past bedtime. Yeah, we do try.
Indeed.
And then we have Olaf Farnes, who says for €2, awesome to see George on the panel. Regular to be. Well, we certainly can try for that. We'll see what your schedule is like, but yeah.
He knows he's welcome anytime on Meet, and we work him in here on weekends. So yeah.
Oh, thank you, Olaf. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Andre. I love it here.
Yeah. And since I have to pop a little bit in and out, I'm just going to answer this question, which was directed at me from Erik Just, representing Denmark with 100 Danish krona. Question to Andre. Have you seen the old Olsen-banden movies? That's the Olsen gang, for those wondering. That's a series of movies, originally Danish movies that were later remade both in Norway and in Sweden separately. So that's just the context. And if so, do you have any favorites among them? Mine is definitely number 5 to 8. And do you think the movies are still good today? And my answer to that is that I've only seen a couple of the Norwegian ones. I was very young. I'd have to re-watch them. I don't think that the Norwegian movies hold up today, probably. I would imagine that if anyone holds up, it's going to be the Danish originals. But I'm not an expert in that. But yeah, Denmark did it first, and they deserve them. So good for them. And with that, I have to pop out a little bit.
He said pop out.
What do you think of the fact that Eternals was almost outdone by the Big Red Dog? I mean, it doesn't get worse.
That just makes me think of Chappelle now.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of scary for Disney. So why don't we start there real quick? Let's get into the early bits here of the show. We got some box office numbers here. Domestically and worldwide, let's see here. We got domestic numbers here, but we don't have worldwide, but we got the total gross here anyway. Unless you got something better, Mike.
No, I like this. Go ahead. This is one. Yeah,
no, because I wanted the well, we'll just bring it up here. So what did it do over the weekend internationally?
Can you make it bigger?
That's what she said, Mike.
Oh no,
we're going there.
Wow.
All right. So far it's done 281 million.
Right.
And following a 71 million opening, it has now made only 27 million.
Domestically,
this weekend. It made less this weekend than it did its first Friday.
Right.
Yep.
So that is
what is that? 63% drop. Week to week out.
Something like yeah,
74% for Friday, 50 and 50 for Saturday and Sunday. So yeah, it probably evens out around a 60% drop, I'd imagine. Yeah.
Is that their highest drop for Marvel? Does anyone know?
I believe there was another one that was
67% fall off for Black Widow, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, but what about Thor: The Dark World and the Incredible Hulk?
Well, adjusted for inflation, the overall dollars were substantial, and the but I don't know about the fall off. That's not a number I have up here, but I do know that adjusted for inflation, the earnings for Thor: The Dark World and the other bad Marvel film were better than. We're better than that. So we'll have to see. I really, I was expecting this thing to fall off 70% for the weekend. So
Culture, do you think that Thor: Love and Thunder is going to set a new record for fall off?
Possibly.
Talk about Thor. You saw, I just jumping right back to Cowboy Bebop. One of the writers wrote Thor: The Dark World. That's why I was like, okay, they really put a good gang together.
Well, they're going to have a real problem with Love and Thunder, because if you emasculate Thor, you're going to lose half, if not more, of your female audience who's going there to see Thor.
Now, I'm going to throw this out here. I heard a rumor that like she gets sick and he has to give her power to let her live, and it's like one of those things. It's like Annie Hall with superpowers.
Yeah, if they take it from the comics, that was the whole issue. Is the fact that Jane had cancer, and every time she picked up the hammer, because he wasn't worthy of it anymore, she turned into Thor. But every time it did it, when she reverted back, it killed her more. So she was sacrificing herself. The more she used it, the quicker she died. That's how it was in the comics. I don't know what they're going to do in the film. Script Doctor, have you heard anything?
This sounds really emo.
And I don't care.
That was a good answer.
Wow.
I just think, especially with Natalie Portman, it's not like she's going to have the va-va-va-voom factor, where she's going to sit there and go, okay, where she's going to draw men into it.
She's more just smug.
Yeah. Yep. Tom, what do you think?
As far as which part?
Thor, worse than Eternals, based on what you've heard?
No, I think it'll do better because it's got Chris Hemsworth. I know some people weren't a big fan of Ragnarok, but Ragnarok was still more well received than Thor: the Dark World.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but this one's going to have Natalie Portman in it, lining it up.
It depends. See, here's the thing with Taika Waititi is he can go out there and troll people all day long. I'm not so sure this movie is going to be what everybody thinks it's going to be.
Woke?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure it'll have some woke elements, but I'm not so sure it's going to be her taking over the mantle of Thor or something like that. We'll see. From what I heard, she will have a big part of it. It's like the whole thing with like her and the cancer, that storyline's all there, so we'll see. But as far as this box office goes, I mean, it's kind of funny considering because it's not on any streaming service and Clifford is.
Mm-hmm. So Eternals, it's just odd how at
least Black Widow has the excuse that it was on streaming at the same time.
Right. I'd actually like to see how Shang-Chi did compared to it since it came out. Streaming.
Mike, you got that kind of stuff you can bring up? I think you know how to do that better.
Yeah, I can do that. Stand by.
Stand by for Mike.
Could you imagine if Shang-Chi, what numbers it pulled over the weekend versus Eternals?
I think Shang-Chi had like a 57 drop the first weekend culture?
It was pretty big. It was substantial. What's really been happening is if it's clear that if the audience wants to see something, it's the first weekend, and then after that you're seeing a 50% or greater fall off for every film now. So it's it is what it is, though. I think that's going to be going forward, unless it's a true blockbuster tentpole. I think that's going to be the pattern that we're going to see.
Yeah, the only exception to that I've ever seen in my life was the original Home Alone, because that was in the theaters for like 9 months. That was insane.
Well, yeah, but that was a different time, and like Shang-Chi also had no competition for almost a month too.
Yep.
Have any of these panels?
Star Wars. What about Star Wars? It didn't have drop off, did it? Week to week. No, I'm talking about the original.
Oh, the originals? Yeah. No, not as much. It actually rose up, I think. The first one did it.
Even Force Awakens, didn't it do? Because all the expectation that was built into it.
That also didn't have like normal drop-offs. Neither did the Avengers, which just like sucked the air out of everything like the next 3 months.
So to answer your question, Shang-Chi had its opening at 75 million. A week later, George, you asked if there was a drop-off. There was no drop-off. It actually, the drop-off wasn't necessarily as significant at all. So if you take a look at it, it was doing an average per theater 6,800, 5,300, 5,200. That's its Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And we go to a week later. Now it did crash on Thursday pretty severely, and we covered that. I don't know. I mean, it depends. I mean, the week to week. I mean, if you look at this drop off, it's 67%, 33, and 57.
So it held pretty well. I
mean, if you're looking for, and then the number I think to look at is your average per theater.
Yeah.
It's just amazing that such a mediocre movie could pull in this much money overall.
It's the brand.
Yeah, well, and then you brought up the per theater average too as well, Mike, and that's another thing we noticed is that Shang-Chi had like 1,000 more theaters than Clifford as well.
That's Shang-Chi opened up with 4,300 theaters. Clifford opened up with 3,700.
Yep.
And Eternals, how many do you know?
Eternals is 4,090. Yeah, that and when you look at theatrical engagements, it's roughly the Eternals is pacing to have more theatrical engagements because of the number of screens, by a substantial margin.
Don't you think that's odd that they would have more screens for Shang-Chi than they would for Eternals, which they spent more on?
Well, the problem because when you have the local screens, you've got the pressure, George, of the fact that we just had Dune come out right before.
Yeah, and a lot of IMAX theaters kept Dune on one of their screens.
Switched back over. I had a couple people that told me that they were supposed to be opening Eternals on the big IMAX screens and stuff like that in their local cinema, and they went and changed it back to Dune because they weren't selling enough tickets.
Okay.
And it looks like the same thing here, is that just nobody's going to see this movie this weekend.
So if we look at the win.
I have to everyone said the same thing. They just said Salma Hayek dies in the first 15 minutes. And
what were you saying
about that? I was saying, because I've seen Eternals. Who else on this panel has seen the Eternals?
I did. Nope.
Oh, okay, cool.
I did, because I did a review on it, so I had to see it.
I got no plans on this one.
Yeah, but that's like the interesting, because this is the first panel I've been on since we had Robert Meyer Burnett on, where someone actually went to see the movie other than me. Here we are, a panel full of film pundits, and of this panel of 7, only 2 has actually seen the Eternals. How kind of an endorsement is that about the movie itself?
It's torturous. That's why. I mean,
Andre, I'm saving all my hope and energy for Ghostbusters.
There you go. That was great. I was going to ask that. How do you think Ghostbusters is going to take a slice out of Eternals?
Big one.
Oh, I think it's going to kick its shit in, honestly.
Yeah,
we'll know Ghostbusters is actually
night.
going to do real numbers like back in the day once it catches on, as long as it catches on. But the commercial, they're releasing this movie in a week. The commercial they have out now, it still doesn't show one original Ghostbuster, and it's not enough for the normies to catch.
They're doing it on purpose, but
but like, why would they like Star Trek 2 with Khan? Like, are they making that mistake with their advertising?
But that would be a mistake. If they have the original Ghostbusters in it, they should be showing them by now.
You'll see it. I think starting Thursday, on Thursday, you're going to start to see that kind of thing out there in the world, right?
Shouldn't they be starting it today? So everybody.
Well, we've already heard their voices in 3 different promotions, so we know they're in there. It doesn't matter at this point. We already have enough of a dangling carrot to get people involved.
It's just the voices about the faces enough for the normies, because we've had this discussion before.
Well, I heard some rumblings about this. I don't know if anybody else heard this, but I heard Sony's kind of pissy right now, because I don't know if they're getting pressure from Disney or what the deal is, but they're mad because they're being pushed into all this Spider-Man shit right now, and they're trying to promote Ghostbusters.
Right.
And I think Disney is pressuring them to ramp up Spider-Man stuff to help Eternals box office.
You think they're doing that to kind of hurt Ghostbusters? So Ghostbusters doesn't
not so much hurt Ghostbusters,
Eternals?
but I think Disney is just panicking over Eternals right now.
They should be.
So, like, they're making this big deal, much to do about the Spider-Man trailer dropping on Tuesday. And I was already hearing a couple months ago that we were going to see the second trailer with Ghostbusters, which basically is what's happening. But they're doing some special event to drop the trailer 2 days earlier. So I think Sony is kind of pissy because they're feeling like that's taking away a lot of thunder from Ghostbusters.
It is.
See something funny? Check this shit out. So, can you slow my screen for 1 second?
Yeah, I think so. Here.
This was the earnings call for Disney.
Yeah.
That's not a happy graph. That's a
that's a brutal graph.
And I don't think
oh my god, what happened?
Dropping right live.
And I don't think this weekend's box office is going to help it at all.
No, when they got the financials, when the financials came out right before the call, right, that's when you started to see that thing go. It was incredible. I was like, there it goes in real time.
Yeah, it went like a rock.
Yeah,
like usually artificially we'll bump it up like $5 or something.
And when I checked this morning, Jesse, it was still trending bearish. So I mean, I was I've been trying to pay attention because I'm thinking, okay, well, I had some money, and
and you know what? It's like that's one of those stocks that you hold on to if you're trying. I dumped mine, but you're what's the natural state of nature for the Disney stock to be at if they're running the company properly?
Right. Well,
no one knows.
Well, especially with Chapek and all the problems now. What what did they have? They had Johansson's lawsuit, then they went into this other lawsuit that they're facing. Then you had the petition, which is just shy of the 50,000, where you have the former employees plus everyone else online on change.org who are calling for Chapek to resign or to be fired by the board.
Now, let me ask you guys a financial question, because this is different than the movies, but it's under Disney. Disney has a ton of properties, right? Now, through the whole Koof thing, there was the whole thing where people weren't made to pay the rent. Did that hurt Disney?
No, because they're not landlords. What they don't have are like buildings where people no longer have to pay their rent. So that did not hurt Disney. What hurt them is that almost all of their assets assumes that people physically go to them, whether it's their hotels or it's their cruise ships or if it's their parks. They kind of assume that people can unrestricted physically go there. As long as people can do that, Disney is fine, and they can afford to be as woke as they want at the movies and whatever, because the parks will always make everything fine as long as people continue to go in them. So that is what hurt them, was that people couldn't no longer go to the parks. But Disney aren't landlords, as far as I know. If they have some kind of share in some BlackRock or something that has property, then that's just a tiny fraction of their portfolio. And there's nothing directly where they are a landlord.
So it seems they're probably more the type that buy up unused land and sell it to subcontractors to build.
Well, they have a real estate empire. I mean, we don't talk about it a lot, but they do. It's called the Disney Vacation Club. And those are resorts that they build that are essentially in a more advanced form of timeshare, and those real estate investments are located primarily in the park locations, but they also have a one in Florida called Vero Beach near the former Dodgers spring training site, which is obviously on the coast of Florida.
They actually going to come up here in a later story, but
yeah, they have that. Oh, I didn't know that. Sorry, but yeah, they have holdings at they have Hilton Head. They have a location in Hilton Head near our buddy
North Carolina,
and they have one in California, on the Disneyland property. But they have locations, also that they cooperate with other timeshares. So yeah. Oh, there it is. Wow.
Actually, hold up. I want to correct myself earlier. Here was my exact estimate for this weekend for Eternals.
Oh, wow.
27,346,506.
Oh, you want me to take this down, Tom?
No, but it's like 27 million.
Yeah, and so you nailed it.
Amazing.
I thought I went higher than that, but no, I guess I didn't.
Amazing.
Oh, that's awesome. Sorry, I just saw that on Twitter here.
Now, if only you could find some place to place bets on this type of thing.
I know we're about to get into finances. I hate to do this, but I got to take a call from work, so I'll be right back, guys.
All right. Yeah, there was this one. You were actually, of course, now he's here.
Would you want me to leave it up or do you?
Well, we'll leave it down for now till you can come back, because I can't get it to open. I can open it, but I can't read the whole story. You have to be subscribed or whatever.
Oh, it's the VIP plus thingy.
Yeah. But Mike's got it, so we can get to that when we get done.
You want to do it? Well, yeah. I need to take a quick call. Be right
Go
back.
ahead and take your call first, then we'll get to that.
All right.
Yeah. No, but like I said, I mean, Disney has real estate holdings as well. I mean, they will buy property near the parks. They'll do what they want to do with it. They do a lot of land exchanges in Florida so that they can get more land to exchange for wetlands that they are, preserving and stuff. There's a lot to that. Yeah. So
but they're not landlords per se.
No.
They wouldn't be affected. Exactly, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
They
wouldn't be affected by flippers.
Exactly. Their investment in real estate, but that's not affected by a ban on kicking
everyone wants to move to Florida. They have to be building subdivisions all the time. Yeah. Price is only going to go up on the land. There's no more of it.
Right. Well, I think Disney, between Eternals and the slate of films that it has going, plus the way the parks aren't having the same attendance rate with people unhappy with all the mandates that are required. I think they're in for some bumpy rides. And you just explained, Jesse, you just showed us how their stock is reacting.
Yeah.
Well, and they also have the new Disney cruise thing. And go ahead, Culture.
No, you're right. I mean, the cruise ships are not, doing what they were doing. They'll get back up to speed. Of course,
I was going to ask if that was still even in existence.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're deep in the cruise ship industry now with that division. DCL is pretty big, and I think they signed a contract just a few years ago for 3 new ships, and I think 1 or 2 of them have been delivered at this point.
Okay.
It's been a minute since I've done the cruise thing. But
are the others sitting out off the coast of California?
No, because they're done in European shipyards, the biggest shipyards in the world. So,
Culture, what do you think about? I was reading over the weekend how they're still having pushback in Disney from people going to the parks over the Genie. You know how they started charging for the different lanes, how they used to not when they would have the fast pass lanes.
Yeah, the lightning lane. Yeah, and the goal there was to try to monetize even further. Your trip to the park. The problem is that they're
cannibalizing their own bottom line with people.
But there are people who are up in arms over it. They're like, look, you are catering only to the wealthy, and it's been tipping that way for a while. It started doing that under Iger, but with Chapek again, he's a retail minded guy.
Right, but he's gone overboard.
I think so.
But again, these parks for a week is insane. I spent thousands of dollars down before, and it's just like.
Yeah,
but what did I really spend money on?
Right, but look at the Star Wars experience: 6,000 basically a night per person, almost, or 5,000.
Oh yeah, that hotel, so they could put some plastic up on the walls. Oh yeah, that's brilliant.
Let's jump to this story. Actually, now that you brought it up,
sounds good. Oh, there it is.
Park Wars. Former Universal exec claims Disney swiped Rise of the Existence idea. That means they're being sued by Universal.
Well, it's a former executive of Universal
company, which I don't understand how they're suing them. When I was reading it, it was like about some technology that you've seen at many parks. This specific tech and patent, it comes from a former Universal employee. He's the creative lead for Raven Sun Creative, and essentially it is for one part of the four attraction. I guess it's really 4 attractions in one, but it's one part of the ride experience when you're actually being jettisoned as the escape pod section, where it's synced directly with this particular type of technology. It's synced directly with the screen in front of people, so that while they are descending, there's a lot more elaborate motion happening on the screen that is your mind's being tricked into believing you're actually having,
like the Forbidden Journey.
Yeah,
similar.
But do you think they're doing it maybe more for marketing? Because you think that a small company can take on Disney? Maybe they want to get their name out
here
there.
Under patent law. Yeah, I mean, anyway, we should probably read from the story. But yeah, when I read,
I guess actually we're gonna save this because we got Lorena coming in.
Yeah, I like George's point on that though, because Universal is looking to open up that 4th park.
All right,
in a couple of years now, they might want a little bit of free publicity.
Yeah, it's just because when I was reading it, I'm like, especially the way it is in this country with patent law, the little that I know about it, it just doesn't seem like they stand much of a chance, especially when Disney's going to show how they've used similar technology 12 years ago, and I think it was called their Titan Drop or something.
Well, we have perfect timing because here she is right now. We just started talking about this, but I was saving it for when you got here, Lorena, and now you're here. Welcome.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Hey, everyone. Hey, everybody there in the chat.
So, yeah, it looks like Disney is facing some legal issues.
Yes, and I'm not surprised. You probably want to file this under the category of it's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission, especially when you have a crap ton of money. Like,
I hate that.
Disney does. This is something that I have some familiarity with. I have a master's degree in engineering, and one of the things that we learned how to do was to write proposals. So for people who don't know what that is, and I'm pretty sure Andre has run into it, when a company is trying to make a make versus buy decision, especially when they're not sure if they want to outsource outsource a particular technology, they will send out what's called a request for proposal. And what that is it's, hey, we have this particular business challenge. So in order to help us out, send us a proposal in and we'll review it. And if we want to hire you, we'll pay you to do that. So this particular company, which I believe is called Raven Sun Creative. So basically they submitted a proposal that said, hey, we have this patented technology. Here's the details on how it would work to quote unquote solve your problem. So if you hire us, this is how we can solve your business need. So Disney probably looked it over, said, oh, this is great, told them, yeah, this is great, but we decided we're probably not going to use it. And then tell their folks, we are totally going to use this technology. I mean, what are they going to do? We can tie it up in court for years. We've got, this Galaxy's Edge that we really, really need to launch our signature attraction. We need to do it. Smuggler's Run is not doing it. You know what? We'll deal with the fallout later. Just build it and go. So that is. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Why does everybody got to be slimy?
I was just going to say, the thing is the difference here between something like a contract dispute or even somebody saying, oh, you stole my story. This is a patent dispute. So there's actual,
there's legal filings. And to further progress this with in the favor of the original company, I believe Paramount licensed these guys out to do a couple of their rides before. One that springs up to mind is the James Bond License to Thrill ride that was at a bunch of their parks about 20 years ago. That uses the same type of synchronizing technology with the seats to the screen.
That's a clever name.
Yeah, I bet you could probably watch it on YouTube.
Yeah, that does have a ride video. That does. Yep, POV.
So yeah, like if other companies have shown that they have also agreed to this and that there's a relationship established, that is in the more favor to the plaintiff than the defendant.
Exactly. And the technology that they're talking about that you guys alluded to about the Bond ride, they did actually use that. Now, I've ridden Rise of the Resistance, and I actually have footage of this exact portion that they're talking about. This part of the ride, literally, it's the best part, literally the best part of the ride. I actually have this up on my channel, so trust me, you won't get struck for it.
How did it feel? How did it feel? You really enjoyed that?
Oh, it was flipping amazing. And you'll hold on, I want to make sure I'm sharing audio because the audio is going to make the difference. So this ride, pretty much you're going through, you see a couple of things. It's like, yeah, it's cool. It's great. It screens and everything. But when you get to this particular portion of the ride, which is near the end, that is when the riders start freaking out because holy crap, it seems real. It feels real. It's the real-time simulation is timed absolutely perfectly.
Now,
and it shows how
crappy
Smuggler's Run
is it like
did.
a big IMAX screen
No, it's not an IMAX screen. Kind of like I want to say like the size of a storage unit, like say maybe 8x12, and there's a ride vehicle in here. Yeah. But I'll show you exactly what happens. So let's see. Hopefully,
it's well.
So you're in a separate ride vehicle. You go into this escape pod right here. They lock you in. Okay. You drop like everyone else drops. And you actually feel like you were in the middle of this whole battle here. Okay, you're clear. Everything from the frames per second to the sound to the timing to the physical dynamics, all of that is perfectly timed. It feels seamless, absolutely seamless. It doesn't even feel like the rest of the attraction at all.
Amazing.
Yep. And that is some old technology that they've just been making better and better every year.
And it's and again, I mean, as Lorena will say, this is for attractions. Yeah, I do too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I know. Sometimes when Lorena shares like videos, this happens.
Yeah, streamer
So this one attraction, Rise of the Resistance, is actually 4 separate attractions. They're all just kind of synced together. So, and that's I mean, that ride vehicle itself is just one element of it all. It's very well done. I mean, the attraction it does make Smuggler's Run look pretty ridiculous, but at the same time, we've seen them get in trouble for using other people's stuff. I mean, one of the reasons they pulled Some of All Thrills out of the of Disney World was because they didn't license the Kabuto robot arms that were used for the Forbidden Journey over at Universal, because they had first dibs on that tech too. So there are only 2 robots now being used in Disney attractions in Florida, the Kabuto robot arms, and they're actually, I think, both in Nemo. So there you go.
I'm not sure. JL Potts must be new here.
This is not a chill stream.
You just came in at the wrong spot, my friend.
Obviously.
Definitely not.
Yeah, we were definitely
Unless
talking
there's
about
pure sarcasm there. That could be.
Yeah, we were definitely talking positively about that one attraction, but no.
Well, here's the thing: is like, these things cost. We know that the Star Wars experience deal costs like a couple $1 billion to build. So I'm sure these guys that design these attractions, there's probably only a handful of them in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to imagine that they take this shit very seriously.
Yeah, the thing now is that it doesn't seem like it's complicated, but it doesn't seem like it's all that complicated to the people who make these type of things for a living. I mean, it's not like this is their first rodeo. I mean, okay, now if you look at the program in itself, it's obviously the same code. It's obviously stolen, or is it someone who rewrote something similar? Because there's going to be a
well, it's not so much the code. I'm sure it's the mechanism and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure that they know what they're doing. Like, you're not going to go after a beast like Disney like this unless you think you've got a good chance.
Right.
And that's the thing. Disney can afford to drag this out for years. They've got the attraction built. They've got the technology in there. And like I said, it's easier for them to just feign asking for forgiveness than permission. They don't care. The only thing that they cared about was getting this ride out so they could make the money up as soon as possible. They still haven't made it up by having this ride out there in existence. So it really doesn't surprise me that Disney did this, even though there's a patent on this technology.
They just thought they'd get away with it, probably.
That is exactly
how does the ride itself function? Does it have a crane arm, or is it on a track, or is it what's new?
It is trackless.
Wow.
Like Culture was saying, there's 4 parts to the attraction. There's one where you walk in and there's like a dynamic simulator. I'm trying not to spoil things too much. One part that's a dynamic simulator. One part that's pretty much like a stage that you go into. Then you get into a trackless vehicle. By trackless, that means it's not on a track at all. It moves independently. The joke, not really a joke, but it actually happened. One of the delays for Rise of the Resistance was because they put the track in upside down.
Yeah, they put the lead wire. It was buried in the concrete. They put that in one of the parks. They put it in upside down.
That just got expensive.
Yeah,
it did.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you're in this trackless ride, and it's very cool because it's not synchronized at all. There's no rhyme or reason to it. So the cars are independently moving by themselves. They move around. Then you get into this escape pod. And again, it's like you're locked into a high quality, real time simulator. Everything is perfectly timed together. And like I said, there's the big difference between this one and the one in Smuggler's Run. This one was done extremely well. The effort, you couldn't tell the difference really between what your eye was seeing and what you felt. It gives you that feeling like you're actually in the motion. And Smuggler's Run, it just was like a really bumpy carnival ride.
I was going to say, I've never been on these rides, but just from my understanding, like, let's say the difference between something like Star Tours, which was just basically something on like a gimbal, where you would go left, right, forward, back, and side to side. And that's all you could really get out of the movement from my memory. Right. Now, this is what you're saying. This is a situation where you have basically like complete 360 control over the movement. So it's probably built on a circular thing, and you probably have the 4 cars at different levels to where they have like, different degrees of motion that they can do while they're going around. And it's probably not a full circle. It's actually probably an oblong to where you don't feel the movement of a circle, right?
In this particular case, and if you've experienced the Tower of Terror attraction in Florida.
I've never been to any of these fucking things. I'm just
They have a point at which the elevator car that you're in that attraction actually moves out of the elevator and travels.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's got to be on like arms, like you were saying, and then like you have multiple levels to it. Is what I'm probably doing a piss poor job of explaining. But in my head, I see it.
I mean, what it reminds me of is a virtual roller coaster where it was
kind of
like a pivot with a barbell shape on it with a counterweight and then the car. But
yeah,
basically, so you get
close.
So it feels like full 360 motion,
Yeah, it does, and plus it's much smoother, and it's true 360 vision. Plus, you actually have a true integration of the Y-axis as well, which makes all of the difference in the world.
So it makes you feel like you're there. You're actually in it.
Absolutely.
I can't stand when people don't invert their Y-axis because then it's not like a plane.
Well, it also is an elevator. I mean, that's the other thing. At the same time, it's taking you down. I mean, there's this attraction's really weird. There is it's multifaceted in a way that I don't think people get, but it's very cool. But at the same time, understand this isn't even Disney got sued 5 to 6 years ago by the company to develop the trackless tech that is used in the Ratatouille attraction in Paris.
Okay, this was sent to me by Six. This is from Raven's Son's thing. This is kind of what I was figuring it would look like right here. That's what I was saying. Not an exact circle, but like, so you move
that
around.
Way all the cars counterweight each other.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. Yeah.
You get slid, you go in, one track goes in one goes in the other, one goes in the other. Like you all go to your own quote unquote escape pods. That's how they wrap it up.
Yeah, I can see how this is pretty much how I was picturing it working here. Even though I've never been on these things, but see what I mean? Like instead of
it's an elevator.
Kind of.
Like
there's
culture was
has
saying.
other motions though, and like Jesse was saying, you have the other ones to counter the other ones. So like when it feels like the one's going forward, it feels like you're tipping back and forth and so on.
You know, I love rides, man.
Yeah,
roller coasters, scarier the better. Make me feel like I'm gonna die.
And in this case, these are forward-facing versions of this. Now,
and this is maybe Rogue Disney. It is different. I'm sure this is just one of
It's very similar.
It reminds me kind of the Simpsons ride, but those are more stationary. But
well, it's the same kind of concept, Jesse. I mean, like for example, there's another attraction in the parks that's actually based on the Pandora's box ride system, which is another one that's being used in multiple ways around the world, called Flight of Passage, which is the Avatar attraction, and that's based on the Pandora's box concepts, but it utilizes some of the tech from the Tron coaster as far as the seating goes, and it utilizes utilizes tech that they use for Soarin', the Soarin' attraction, Soarin' over California, Soarin' over whatever. So that's a combination, like 3 different ride elements that they put together for that attraction. It works beautifully there. But again, that's all tech that they've worked with or developed themselves before. But this isn't, like I said, this is like this. I think this is the second time in the last 5 to 8 years, somewhere in there, that they're being sued by a patent holder over their use of their technology.
Yeah, because it seems kind of odd, because it seems like one of those things that rides have progressed with a certain evolution to them. And that I would assume that all the big boys use the same tips and tricks and toolkit.
Well, that's where I was going to, Jesse. Well, to a point, that's where I was going to, Jesse. There's probably only a select handful of guys who do this stuff. And I don't
because I mean, when's the last time you've seen an ad in the paper for amusement park ride designer?
Well, it's true. It's like they are. When it comes down to the technology and the software, basically, it's like here's our white label or standard of what we can do. And then, we write your proposal to refine that, to make it into what it is that you want to use. That's a common practice. But Jesse, you're right. There's only a handful of people really who know how to do this.
Yeah, because you basically got to be like an engineer. And
but just designing it is one thing. Putting it together is a completely different animal too. I mean, like, it's got to be a tight-knit family. You can't trust day workers to do this.
Well, and I think that's kind of the case, Jesse, and I think that's how these guys found out about this, because Six was sending me some stuff last night, and so it does sound like these guys know each other behind the scenes. So, and they had been commenting on a few things about Disney here in recent times too. So I'm sure they're well aware of what they're using.
Yeah, I mean, really, what's it going to be, like 100, 200 people in the country who work on this type of stuff?
It is a very small community, even in Orlando area itself. When I was doing work in real-time simulation, that's a very small group of people.
It's like how many brain surgeons are there in the world who are at the top? It's just
exactly, yeah.
It is. Well, and when you're talking about these high level Imagineers, I mean, there's a handful of these guys, right? And when they get Disney sloughed off a bunch of talent in the last few years, and they went on to work for other people. I mean, big time minds. They sloughed them off, and they went on to do other things that are amazing for other companies. In fact, outside of the amusements category, I know a few of these guys. So it's one of those things. It's like,
I'm assuming it's a pretty tight knit community. Like
it is.
All
very,
each other.
very.
Yeah, I mean, even if you're
like
not
when you say 200, I think it's probably less than that.
It's way less than that. Yeah,
I'm talking about the guys who actually assemble the shit too.
Oh well, yeah, they probably have
big
crews
with a lot of muscle.
Yeah, but that comes down to the individual company. Like Sally will send out their installation team to do like one of their amusement.
I was going to say, if somebody's putting shit in upside down and backwards, that means you're handing somebody the instructions.
Yeah,
they're doing it wrong.
Right. There's like a certain group of people. Let's just say when I used to work for Stark Industries, that was something specialized when they'd have simulators installed for certain branches of the military. That was a specific skill set that you had in a specific group that did that.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I say wiring is not a hobby. Working on military stuff is definitely not a hobby.
Oh no.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, Luffy, you're right. The Imagineering group, they come from they're a multidiscipline organization outside of Disney, but Disney's been sloughing off their legendary Imagineers, and they go to work for other companies. They go to work for Sally, Sunraven, all these other companies.
Virgin Galactic. That's where Joe
Virgin
Rogan
Galactic. Yeah, exactly. You're 100% right. Yeah, you and I know who that is. But there's a lot. They still keep contact with each other.
Well, like any field, they're going to have the same familial.
Can I ask a question now? Like the original old group of Imagineers that basically create all the cool shit at Disney. Where was the common background of these people besides engineering? I mean, like there has to be some other facet that made them pick that guy or that woman.
Well, Imagineering kind of was born out of the animation discipline originally. These are referred to as the 9 old men. But these people developed, like Walt would ask somebody to do something, and Bob Gurr, who Lorena knows, anything that is motion, like that, there's like. I guess
didn't they basically have to create like classes and stuff for people to learn how to build these things for Walt?
And they pulled. Just think about it. There's like over 200 disciplines, different kinds of disciplines along art and engineering and all these other fields that they pull into the Imagineering group. Yeah, and so like you had Mary Blair, who was responsible for the look and feel of a lot of things that you're surrounded by at Disney, right? She was an incredible decorator, but she participated in multiple set dressings for attractions. You have, like I said, Bob Gurr is responsible for almost every single early motion concept that came out of Disney, from the Wedway People Mover to the original monorail. He was responsible for making.
Well, and I know they're also the Imagineers were also responsible for a lot of the animatronic technology that we have today.
Yeah, because the Hall of Presidents. But what came first, the monorail or the presidents?
Lincoln. I think Lincoln. The great moments with Mr. Lincoln when it premiered at the World's Fair. Again, a lot of these World's Fair attractions, like the People Mover and those moments, they premiered like Small World. Small World premiered at the World's Fair, and those attractions were built and went into the World's Fair. But when they came out of that, they moved to Disneyland. So, but just consider that all this tech came out of like a handful of minds, and then those minds kind of expanded along the way to create all this the great physical themed entertainment stuff that obviously
Yeah.
Well,
to kind of add a little bit onto what Culture was saying with Imagineering, again, that's many different disciplines, and what it is basically the integration of art along with engineering. So you may have someone who their whole thing is just visual, with color theory and how sets are lit. You may have someone who's more into physics with the motion of the different cars. It's a lot of different disciplines together, because what Walt wanted to do was to have a group specifically to produce experiences, not necessarily rides, because Imagineering is also responsible for parades as well, construction as well, to produce something that isn't seen anywhere else. And that's the gist of it. And to kind of compare things, Imagineers that got let go from Disney, that's why Islands of Adventure at Universal looks so amazing. The Wizarding World of Harry Potter. That's classic Imagineering right there.
It's kind of like Citizen Kane, buy up all the best.
Yeah.
But I don't want.
The problem I do have with these theme parks, though, is like the Harry Potter, for instance. You go in there and it's like, it's not like the movie. It's just a bunch of shops with the same stuff in them. Then they have good ice cream. Then you're like happy with it and you move on.
What part did you go in?
No, it's like when you go into like the Weasley's toy shop. Like if you go into the Weasley's toy shop, in the movie it's like 3 floors and you can walk around. There's all this wacky zany shit all over the place, and you go into the one in there and it's like around a center counter, and then it's like into a candy store. And it's like, what the hell? You missed an opportunity here. This could have been a centerpiece.
Well, if they did that, then it's going to cost like probably $5,000 to get in.
Well, I don't want to switch gears.
Practically already does.
I don't want to switch gears too much, but I want to grab some super chats, and then we have some more Disney Star Wars news I want to jump into that actually just came across my desk here. I wouldn't call it necessarily breaking news, but it's stuff that's been discussed lately, and it kind of adds to some fuel to the fire of things that we've heard as well. But Andre, what do we got for some super chats we can catch up on here?
Yes, absolutely. Going back to some of the classic super chats, I'm trying to scroll, but I'm just going to go straight into the repository. Then we have Phantom. No, actually, I will have to refresh here because I just got caught on all of that. That was up to where we were. Give me 1 second here. We have our good friend and my fellow countryman, Jace Fox, who says for 22 Norwegian krona, hail to the good buds on the panel. And says for $4.99, hi gents, hello everyone. And Joachim Stark says for another 50 Swedish krona, I am spending what would have been my Eternals tickets on super chats. Hail Midnight's Edge in the morning. Oh, thank you, Joachim. And I do feel that you'll probably get more entertainment from this than you would have Eternals anyway. So yeah, money well spent. Darius Münchhausen sent us a $1.49 super sticker. And then Christian Coralejo sent us a pertinent question for $5. If you guys had a bunch of money and total control over the parks, how would you personally improve the rides and the overall park experience?
You ever see that episode of South Park where Cartman buys a theme park?
Yes, all
kicks everyone out.
That would be me.
Yep.
Classic.
Go and having a good time.
Exclusivity factor.
Oh, I'll let
All right. I'll let 4 people in today.
Oh,
you know what I would do? You know how like you got all these parks and there's like a lot of area. I would make roller coasters that like much like the monorail idea. It would get you from one area to another.
Yeah,
but it'd be a roller coaster, so it'd be cool.
No, I have nothing to really add to the whole thing because I've never really been to any of these parks. But somebody who has is Drunk 3PO, and he's in the chat. How you doing, Jay?
Hey, Jay.
Yeah. Jay's
Florida people get to go do this.
I see he did a video on the lawsuit as well, I believe. So
yeah, he did.
Check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Culture, you want to go?
About which?
Yeah. What would you do with all the money in the world to fix up? What was the question again, Andre?
Fix the theme parks.
So, like, if you could do what you wanted in the parks, what would you do?
Fix it.
Fix it now.
All right, look, there's so many issues right now. Depending upon which park you're in around the globe. First and foremost, I think if you talk about Florida specifically, you replace the fleet of monorails. You look at the tech that they invested into the Skyliner and realize you made a mistake and should have gone with the people mover version of the tech. You need to get a fifth actual theme park put there, a fifth gate. They need it desperately. You need to reinvest in edutainment properties like you did before. Try to reimagine what tomorrow will be. That's the problem. When they say reimagining tomorrow, they stopped imagination at Disney 25 years ago. I mean, outside of some tech stuff and acquiring IPs to build attractions around. If you look at Epcot, wow. Drunk's like, no.
When you come in here and tell them what you do, Drunk.
No.
Yeah. Hey, look! Right now, they've abandoned the principles at Epcot that thing was based around. It was the imagination of tomorrow in World Showcase, and they stopped investing in that. And so now in Future World and World Showcase and in Future World, you're ending up with attractions like Cosmic Rewind, which is based on Guardians of the Galaxy. There's no educational.
Wait, they actually have a place called Future World?
Yeah,
well, it's not there anymore.
Yeah, it's no longer Future
They
World.
totally got rid of that.
They do realize that was the sequel to Westworld, right?
Westworld, yeah.
I don't know, but the park was built in two phases. I mean, or in two different
Shit
ideas.
didn't go any better for Future World spoilers.
but I would fix the descent, and abandon this idea of what they're doing with the inside of Spaceship Earth. I mean, I could go through each attraction and tell you what is wrong with it now, but it didn't used to be that way.
Well, something going to correct you is Mr.
Jay. What's up, Jay?
Hey, Jay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to crash your party.
No, you did.
Hey, Jay.
Well, you had an opinion, so
there's still room for 2 more people, I think.
You run park hopping, so I think you're a bit of an authority on that.
I don't know if I'm an authority. I disagree with culture on the Skyliner. I love the Skyliner.
Okay.
That's probably one of my favorite things to do there.
Right.
Because what people don't realize is that you can park somewhere and ride the Skyliner without buying a ticket. And explore the boardwalk and other things as well at Disney without having to purchase a ticket,
right?
And enjoy some of the restaurants and some of the other things and ride the boats. There's a lot of things you could do without spending money on a ticket, and the Skyliner is one of them that will take you to different resorts that you can experience without buying a ticket.
I agree. Well, what I was saying, Jay, is instead go with the original concept. Instead of the Skyliner, use a people mover that would actually employ the technology that you would never, you would just essentially push the button for your final destination. You'd never have to leave the car you were on. You would also have a sidewalk.
Problem. That's a huge problem, though, because people will just ride it to ride it. That's why they put the Skyliner in.
Which is
so basically people that really need to move to get to their next spot. You'll have a bunch of people on there pushing buttons to ride it to go everywhere, and it clogs up the whole. It clogs up the whole system. Is why that's just one of the things but you can they're starting to open up the resorts now to people, which is really nice, especially Christmas time. I know Lorena's been there, but going to the Grand Floridian, they made a giant gingerbread house that people can explore and buy stuff. Like that's really neat. But as far as fixing the theme parks, it's just, to me, it comes down to money. I think they charge too much for parking. They charge too much for a lot of things. But there was a great article that came out in Reader's Digest 2 years ago that I keep quoting, basically saying there was an insider, not an insider, someone that worked, that was on the board, that's not there anymore. And he just said, Disney, this is Disney, not Universal talking, or Legoland, but Disney. Disney's purposely going to raise prices on everything for crowd control purposes. Basically, if you can't afford it, you won't go. And if you're very rich, you'll have a better experience and spend more money. Even though that looks good on paper, that just takes away the principle of what.
Wow, Walt Disney would have just loved that idea.
Yeah.
I got a scoot actually.
All right.
Well, thank you, Lorena, for hopping in here. We appreciate your time.
No problem. Just to answer the quick question, what I would do to fix the parks, get back to providing authentic experiences that are worth the amount of money you charge. I don't care really how much you charge. You're giving me a great experience. If you get me to the point where I say, shut up and take my money, and I don't feel screwed over for that, then that'll work. Disney used to give you those types of experiences. And one bone to pick that I do have to do with the Skyliner, I can't go directly from my resort like say the Pop Century directly to Hollywood Studios. I have to stop in that hub at the Caribbean Beach Resort. And that's kind of a pain in the ass when you have, like, say, several kids with you or other people with you or elderly people with you.
That is a time suck.
It is. And that's just kind of my, hey, you know, you like me because I'm
gonna disagree with her on that too.
I know what she's talking about. I like to be very efficient about moving around the park.
It's just, I mean, I can see that they probably made that decision, but I'm just saying it's
Chapek made that decision,
and it's not, you know, and it's really not, it's not the best. If I'm at my resort, I want to get from my resort directly to the
Well, Lorena's saying is we all want a happy ending, really.
Yeah.
Y'all said that. I did not say that.
No, but we will see you later on tonight on Toxic Femininity, of course.
I gotta go, guys. Thanks so much for having me on. Take care, everyone. I'll talk to you later.
Lorraine on her channel as well, and Toxic Femininity starts tonight at 7 p.m. Central, right? Still that time?
7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. Yes, indeed.
That is correct.
But so just to play devil's advocate, the reason why they have that place at the Skyliner, it's kind of like Grand Central Station. It's the center hub where you get off and then you could choose where you want to go. If you want to go to Hollywood Studios, Epcot, the Boardwalk, or anywhere else. So it's needed. You just can't have one, like you just can't. I mean, I get people have, if you don't want to go through that hub, you could, they have multiple other ways to get to the resorts you want to go to, bus transportations and everything else. Is the Skyliner perfect? No, but I'm just saying if you want to take kids to Disney and do stuff without spending money, that's a great alternative.
So basically,
to park somewhere.
This is how it rolls for me. You get X amount of time is when, or X time is when the park opens, right?
Right.
So is this thing open beforehand?
It's open. Yeah, it's open like
to go through. And
it's like 2 hours before and 2 hours after.
Well, that's
that's good. That's
if
good.
it's working, this is the other problem.
If it's working, lovely.
It hasn't had an issue.
Somebody was just saying
almost
the Skyline's supposed to go down, but yeah.
Well, Jay, when hurricane season and thunderstorms roll around regularly, does it operate then?
I've been in it during major thunderstorms, and I've even had video on park hopping. It was quite the ride.
Right.
Jay, have you tried out? Or
I'm not trying to come in and counter everyone's argument for people to be like,
but
it's so negative. But the problem is, it's like we could shit on the parks all day long. Of course, we could find things. What Lorena was talking about, the wow factor, the bang with your buck. Even though I can't stand the Rise of, the sequel trilogy, the Rise of the Resistance ride is something incredible that everyone should experience.
What I was about to ask you. Yeah, how was that?
I've done that multiple times, and even people that hate the sequel trilogy get off that thing and go, wow. That's unbelievable. The problem with the wow factor is that you're gonna wait 3 hours just to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
So like that's the problem. Like I don't know how you fix
those.
Yeah, I don't know how you fix that. So it's
when your fast pass ain't no good here, it's just like
there ain't no So they also did away with fast passes. Now you pay individually. It's like a circus ticket type thing. So I don't know what it's going to be like on busy days, but Lorena is right.
So
the problem with Disney,
does that mean that every ride you have to swipe a card?
No, Disney has moved everything towards app. So that's
talking about the Disney Genie.
Yeah,
you're not clogging up the line waiting for people
right. So if you want anything like ordering food, dinner, you have to go through the app, which is right now it's extremely confusing for me who's tried. Like I'm good. It's until they work some of the bugs out.
Disney IT is terrible. So
Jay,
I agree.
Have you looked at that Star Wars experience? 48-hour immersion.
Yeah, did anybody want to sponsor me to go there one night? It's only $6,000.
Yeah, it's actually 8 nights, Jay.
Why don't you just go down? Why don't you just order some white plastic?
Honestly, dude, I would love to, but that's probably about half of what I make in a year or so. A little bit more than that, but still, have you
heard anything about it, Jay?
Oh yeah, big time.
Are people liking it, or because I keep reading that people are complaining about the price and what they get for it?
It doesn't open till March of next year, but they opened up reservations, and it like the first month's already booked out. So for some,
they're actually booked out for about 4 months. But yeah.
Well, that's because people are obsessive.
4 months. I just was checking yesterday. I think I could still get a 2-night this month, the first month it opens. Maybe because I have an annual pass.
Because I keep reading people are saying like for what you get, the money, when they're going to book, it's just outrageous.
How much did this thing cost, by the way?
It's $4,800 for a minimum. You have to stay a minimum of how much did it cost to build?
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking billions.
Well, that's what I'm curious about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know
that's a great job. They're gonna.
I have an idea of what they'll make.
Here's the thing too. As much as I personally complain about Disney parks and why they're charging too much, they're always packed. So as much as we sit and complain, and that goes for me too, saying, oh, they've lost the magic here, they've lost this, no one will ever use the Genie app, it's too expensive, no one will ever stay there. They're always packed.
Okay.
They're always packed.
Genie's being used right now by 1/3 of park guests, according to.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, though.
I'm just saying, though, it's all every time I go, though, it's
there are people who are going to pay and who are going to enjoy it. That's
people that are going to go into massive debt just to go there.
I was going to say it's becoming more of an elite experience, though, over time. That's what it feels like.
Yeah,
to me.
It's always packed, right? Every time, even in this, and this Christmas, they're expecting something so they're expecting from December 1st till January 5th that all the theme parks are going to be so packed that Florida might even lift a couple things where they can actually cram more people in there, supposed number, because last year, we were all locked in our homes and nobody traveled, and Florida is I guess considered a free state, and with all that stuff, so we were already getting the notice. The hotels are pretty much booked up, and already it's not even Thanksgiving yet, and
they're already having staffing issues on top of that all. Just
exactly, you're absolutely correct. Huge staffing problems, and that goes all the way around. They want to hire people, but nobody wants to work.
No, not for what they're paying.
So are they? Do you have to wear a mask all throughout the park now, Jay?
No, Universal, Legoland, SeaWorld, all these others, you don't have to wear a mask at all. Disney right now is requiring you to wear a mask if you go inside. But we believe that that's going to be lifted before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So because they just saying that it's just the number of tickets that they've sold this for December and Christmas time is skyrocketing compared. I guess because everybody was just home and they saved up a year. Yeah. So it's one of those things.
SDR Red Wolf on that note speaks on the app and says, lunch, dinner through app. Did Disney steal this from Singapore or Tokyo restaurants? Or did they find an old article where a restaurant used an Atari 8-bit computers for ordering food? Well, considering they're in the business of stealing shit, who knows?
Well, since since the development of the NGE,
I'd rather be with people.
They kind of leaned heavily into the this app idea, and they just keep building upon it. So you used to be able to book restaurants 180 days out, and you did that through the website, and then they developed a more efficient way to do it through the app, and then they started to grind that down to doing online ordering for quick serve restaurants and stuff like that. So, and then obviously during the global crisis we just went through, they leaned towards everything being pre-ordered through the app for a little bit of time, and it was a hot mess. But I think right now even at Zatuli, aren't you still having to pre-order before you even get there?
Yeah, anywhere you go now. For someone like myself who's goes there because it's part of my job, I know how to do it really quickly. So it's I know I kind of all right, I know I'm going to eat around 1. Let me get on the app and order my food. It'll be ready for me when I pick up. So I could make it look easy. But when I hang out with the Force of Light girls were there with me not too long ago. And it was you got to order your food on, and they were just lost as lost can be. And that's very common. They're just well, how do I get this? Well, you got to go to the app. Well, you got to do this. You got to do that. And
it's actually less convenient. They sell it as a convenience, but it's actually less convenient. You used to be able to walk up to places and eat
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't understand. You can't literally walk up and just sit down, because the last time I went was 7 years ago, where you could just go and sit and have a meal. That's not allowed anymore.
No, it's like when I just went to
not at the
Universal,
moment.
they had a really easy system. Like I was at the Hard Rock, so I just had to text the front desk with the restaurant I wanted, and they'd give me the times, and I'd pick one.
Okay.
Yeah, Universal's completely different. It handles their business much better. But I'm with Drunk.
They still make you use an app in that fucking Harry Potter restaurant, though. The one everybody likes was that.
Not so much. Like some of the nicer restaurants have gone away. Like you can walk up and reserve.
Yeah,
and they started to open up lines at Universal it's appless line where they're like, "Did you order on the app? No. All right, then go in this line here."
Yeah,
but that line is very long.
So, yeah, well, everybody wants the old fashioned.
On the park note here, Kaiju Gabriel sends in $5 and says, "How about actually building Beastly Kingdom as an addition to a park or separate park entirely? The story behind that idea is sad."
Yeah, and you're not going to get what you want. And the development of the Zootopia part of the park is going to further take away the land that they could have expanded upon to do something like that. Don't get me started. I don't even want to get into it. So.
Beastly Land?
Beastly Kingdom was supposed to be the expansion at Animal Kingdom.
I have some top secret news.
Oh, yeah, I'd like to hear it.
Sure.
At Universal Studios, where they used to do a show called Fear Factor, is now going to be demolished, and that's going to be part of the Epic Universe expansion. They haven't announced that yet, but a couple of the theme park channels got the leak information, as just like I did too, and they're really moving quickly now to get Nintendo World built, which they're learning from all the mistakes over at Japan to make sure that it's.
I think Nintendo World would be bigger because, like, the Springfield area is not big enough.
Well, they have a whole other section where they're gonna.
Yeah, I've seen the map, but I heard about Nintendo. But besides that, what else are they gonna have? You get any leads on that?
The only other thing that I was talking to somebody last time I was there is like they're still because Universal still has the contract of Marvel and Simpsons, even though Disney owns it. But there's been a lot of whispers saying that Disney wants to take it back. So
yeah, I've heard that too. Yeah.
That could be who knows what can happen. The Universal has like an unlimited contract for those IPs. So it would be interesting.
Isn't that similar with the Marvel characters too, Jay?
Well, that's the thing. It's like it wouldn't be a hard switch over if they wanted to expand on their own personal IPs, and it might even do them better to get rid of some of Disney's IPs. And I mean, look, The Simpsons, everybody knows The Simpsons, but they're not as popular as they used to be.
They've kind of run their course,
and there's also been this talk for a while that they're going to get rid of the ET attraction as well. So that whole back end.
I'm surprised about that because that's their oldest existing ride that's still there.
It's going to be interesting. The pandemic really changed a lot of how.
Well, they got two stinkers in that park, and it's the Men in Black ride and the Fast and the Furious ride.
The Men in Black, they can do an easy overlay fix of. There's a lot of other properties they could lean into.
Fast and Furious is the worst ride ever created.
It is. It's terrible.
You're in Fast and the Furious, right? So you think you're going to be like a car ride, right? No, you're getting a bus. With like video, screen on either side you're moving. It looks like you're watching a bigger version of Cruising USA.
Is that what they did? Is just refit the speed ride or something, or what?
It's terrible,
dude. If they made it a speed ride, that would make so much more sense.
They screwed it up so badly. I mean, they waste again. Think about how much space that occupies. Physical space. I mean, I'm like. Tear that thing out. Put something in there. It's good. Put two things in there.
I always wondered why they didn't put the Jaws into the center area because they
closed Jaws down all but in one. Yeah, exactly. Didn't they now, Jay?
Jaws is completely gone.
Oh, is it? Oh shit.
Yeah, but the hard rumor is that they're taking all the classic rides for like Back to the Future, the old King Kong, and Jaws, and they're going to put it in the Epic Universe. where people can go like back in time and experience some of the rides that they had before, since they have them there.
It's like
like
VR AR concept, right?
Because I'll be honest with you, I've never been to any of these things, but like the old Kong ride and the old Jaws ride and stuff like that were some of the main reasons why I would ever want to go.
I agree with you.
Yeah, that's why I think they should take that Jaws ride and put it right in the center, because it looks like they'd be doing shows in there in the, like that little.
Well, that lagoon used to get lagoon used to get it used to get a lot of use for various things. I mean, it would. I mean, they could definitely.
From what I know of the history,
did Culture
of the Jaws
cut his
ride,
hair?
Yes, he did.
What the freak, bro?
You need to go watch the video on my channel, Jay.
I've been in Georgia shooting guns.
Reveal why you do that?
I know, dude.
Stuff, but
Say again, just to keep it healthy.
Wait, you're in Georgia shooting guns?
I was flying helicopters and shooting guns.
And I know the one Jaws ride was gone, but I thought the one in Florida or whatever was still around till a couple of years ago. But
the
guy who worked there told me that it was where Harry Potter was, and they paved.
Oh, that's right. Thing. Yeah. I forgot. Because now
Tom, I gotta get you, man. You got it. We gotta.
I've never been to any cool.
You can fly down,
man. Vegas is the only thing.
You need to get some sun, Tom. You need to get some sun on that dome.
I do. You have no idea.
Florida is really nice, Tom.
I don't like humidity.
South Carolina is even better. We have less humidity.
Like that. Like it'll get hot, then we'll go get some ice cream.
No, you come to South Carolina where we have less humidity. We got great weather out here on the island, and you come visit Mexican Iron Man because he has plenty of room here.
I think we're caught up on the super chats, if I'm not mistaken, but we do have a couple of member chats here real quick. We want to grab. Let's see here. We got.
You got the ones from early in the show start, right? There were 3 of them.
I may have, but we're going to start with Kit Kats here. I was surprised at just how good George Mohlo's channel. Oh, of course, George isn't here at the moment.
No,
George Mohlo's channel is providing to be. He is eloquent, a skilled writer, and yet a clear analytical mind. Andre has the same combination, very effective. Yeah, I agree with you, Kit Kat. I love listening to George's takes. It's almost like he's a really I don't know how to explain it, but like he's got that TV commentator / really well spoken teacher kind of thing going along. You listen to him.
I literally think all of you guys here, except for me, do that very well.
Bullshit, Jay. You're better at it than I am. So whatever.
You are an educator, aren't you?
Oh no!
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I'm a good speaker.
That's kind of like a condition of it.
I say,
have you seen teachers recently?
That's a different
argument. Very disappointed, but not with you.
No.
And Mike, I'm not seeing any more actual.
Okay, I'll go ahead and do them. Dolben has been a member for 2 months. Is at the Midnighter level. We've got Billy D, who's been a member for 8 months, and also Joachim Stark. In addition to the super chat.
I thought you meant messages. Yeah.
In addition to a super chat, Joachim Stark has been a member for 8 months. Those are all member chats. Sorry it took us so long, but
sorry about that. I misinterpreted. Thank you for that, though.
I copied one in there from Kit Kat.
Yeah, I just read that one.
Oh, okay, cool. All right.
And then I think George already saw it, Kit Kat, but I will make sure he sees it when he gets back. Then we did just get one now from Paulus Plain. Did you want to read that one, Andre, if you're still here?
Certainly. Paulus Plain says for 100 Norwegian krona, Midnight's Edge, please invite Clownfish TV to talk about the daily dose of dismal Disney and other comic book things.
Yeah.
We reached out to them before, but it's like a matter of scheduling and stuff like that and just making everything meet up. But hopefully one of these days we'll have them on.
But yeah, they're more than welcome anytime they can make it work in their schedule for sure.
They're awesome.
So yeah. With that, we do have a little bit more news here. We have more, like I said, I get this. I wouldn't call this breaking news per se, but I'm glad to have you here, Jay, because some Star Wars news anyway. And then we're going to get into what Mike has for us. This just came across my desk here. As we were talking about last week, Rogue Squadron got pushed back, right? Delayed. I had heard some rumors. Some other people have been hearing some rumors, but now there's more rumors going around that the real reason was being delayed is creative differences.
Yep.
Dun, dun, dun. Come to no surprise.
It's so
to nobody.
fun when you first get one story of why it's delayed and then a completely other one.
Kathy's not playing well with others again.
I think it's more like with Patty. Patty's
yeah,
not playing well with her.
Patty. Yeah, I was gonna
This
say
has nothing to do with Kathy, technically.
No, I know. I was just being facetious. But okay, I'm gonna read
just
this
over
here.
like I missed the Rogue Squadron game from back in the day.
Right. So according to Adam Bernard over at comicbook.com, it wasn't too long ago Star Wars Rogue Squadron was expected to be the next Star Wars film to hit theaters. At one point, it was going to enter pre-production by the end of the year and pick up principal photography early 2022. Now the film has been delayed indefinitely and will no longer meet its current release date of December 22nd, 2023.
Nor any other.
Now, what movie was it that just moved into that place the other day? Somebody remind me, because as soon as that happened, I'm like, that movie is not coming out that day.
Oh, wasn't it the supposed Star Trek 4?
Yes. As soon as Paramount announced that, even though I don't think that movie's coming, that just told me that they changed something. Anyway, the Lucasfilm has yet to officially comment on the matter. One Hollywood insider suggests creative differences between the studio and filmmaker Patty Jenkins led to the delay, and it's unclear if the two sides will be able to work together on a later date. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean it wasn't Kathy script. It just says someone at the studio.
Well, no, it probably isn't Kathy. It was probably someone above Kathy, because again, Kathy wants Rogue Squadron. Right, Kathleen Kennedy wants Rogue Squadron. Patty Jenkins wants Rogue Squadron, and the two of them might be more aligned than we care to admit. But that's why I've heard other things from two different people as to why that is not the case. So, and it has nothing to do with an issue between Kathy or Patty. I'll put it that way.
All right, well, moving on here. The latest report comes from THR editor Matthew Belloni, who says Jenkins was frustrated by the micromanagement of select Lucasfilm executives. You want to say that again? Anyway, eventually opting to pursue.
It has nothing to do with Kathy. There's other executives there. Remember, Kathy's the president, not an executive.
Lucasfilm worked on fixing internal problems. That's not usual, of course, but it's a laughably reoccurring problem at Lucasfilm under President Kathleen Kennedy, says agents. Top filmmaker are dying to make a Star Wars movie until they sign on and experience the micromanagement and plot point by committee process. Belloni writes in the latest issue of his newsletter. He adds, it happened to the Game of Thrones guys, David Benioff and Dan Weiss, who were hired to create a new trilogy, but bailed. It also happened to Rian Johnson, writer and director of 2017's Last Jedi, whose own planned trilogy was shelved. I think that was shelved for other reasons. Jenkins wasn't willing to dick around, and she has other projects, notably Wonder Woman 3 at Warner Brothers, where she enjoys more creative freedom. And then it just goes into when Rogue Squadron was first announced, Disney went out of its way to film a teaser featuring Jenkins, who would have been the first woman to direct a Star Wars film at the time, and was even being heralded as the greatest fighter pilot movie ever made. Jenkins made public comments on the project, suggested the film script was nearing completion. It's going amazing, Jenkins told Hollywood Reporter. I had only been on the... this is all old stuff anyway. Okay, so that's basics of it. That's kind of what we were hearing, right, Andre?
Yeah, pretty much.
There was some creative differences.
It wasn't scheduling. It was creative, evidently. So yeah, but before we start giving our take, let's hear what our esteemed guests have to say. Drunk 3PO, let's begin with you. What's your instant response to this?
Not surprising. Lucasfilm just doesn't seem to be organized properly. I mean, it seems like every year we get announcements that this guy's doing a movie, this guy's doing this, and then it just kind of quietly disappears. It just seems like they're just not.
It seems like they do it on purpose to me. It sounds like shock testing. Like, we'll throw it out there and see what sticks and see how people react to it. And,
statistically, if you get hired to direct a Star Wars movie from modern day Lucasfilm, your odds of actually making one are extremely slim.
Slimmer than outside of the other studio systems. I mean, it's par for the course for a movie to be announced and then dropped. It's pretty much is. It's very difficult to get a movie made. But with Lucasfilm, it's exceedingly harder.
Yeah, script. Have you counted, or does anybody know out there how many directors Kathy has gotten rid of in her tenure?
I think
More than have actually made the movie.
I think they're closing in on 10 directors, or at least 10 filmmakers that have at least been announced. Close to 10, not exactly 10, but close.
How many have disappeared? None.
Like from existence, or
it's like seven or 8. Because right now we have Patty Jenkins is the newest one. So,
you guys seeing the report now that her contract was just extended 3 years?
I've been seeing that around, and
this is breaking right now everywhere.
This has been going around in a couple places.
It's been going around a couple places since Friday.
Yeah.
The reason I'm not so sure about it is because it's 3 years.
Yeah, that's very against what Bob Chapek is for. So if she has been extended for 3 years, which I question, but if that is true, there's going to be some heavy provisos in that contract.
Yeah.
But everyone recall, we actually, for those that now like to claim, you said she would be fired. No, actually, we have been saying that she wouldn't be fired the past 3 years. We were the first to break the rumors. Well, to be fair, they came from Mikey Sutton, but we were the first to bring to YouTube that she actually might be extended. They're talking about that.
Yeah,
I always believe that she's not going to Indiana. Oh, forgive me.
Yeah, but before we get ahead of ourselves, we can get into that a little bit later on, because I also want to hear what others have to say about this whole thing, Rogue Squadron, the thing. What's going on with that? What can be the real issue behind the creative disagreements? George, for instance, your thoughts on that?
I think he stepped away. I think he's still
okay. Yeah. Well,
so
then
Mikey.
carry on then.
I'm right here.
No, he's back. Here he is.
Oh, all right.
Sorry, had to take an emergency call. What was
no,
the
absolutely.
again?
And now, because we were talking about Patty Jenkins, and now we were like learning that there's actually creative differences, that whole umbrella, which is the real reason why Rogue Squadron is delayed indefinitely. And I think we can say forever. But what do you make of it?
I think it's the same thing that's happening with, if you remember a few days ago, there was a mention of Chloe Zhao taking on a Star Wars film. And then after Eternals, they announced, nope, she's not going to be doing.
I think that was publicity stunt or stunt casting by someone's wishful thinking. Because I made the joke, because somebody pointed out, I made the joke, oh, so she lost the job that she was never officially announced for in the first fucking place. I think it was somebody just either putting it out there to kind of push Eternals box office and or wishful thinking.
Well, that's never happened before, Tom. Come on.
Exactly. No, like that's, yeah.
I think they're reevaluating where they are. At least that's my perception from the outside based on what's happening, especially after the trailers had dropped. Not the trailers, but when they had the Disney Plus day, when they were showing Boba Fett and they were showing the Obi-Wan behind the scenes. I don't think there was as much positive reaction as they were expecting.
Well, on that note, Tennille brings up in a $5 super chat, D Plus Day, the investor call that launched 1,000 long faces and named after the grade it received upon turning its homework into the teacher.
Oh, that's true.
Very well done, Tennille.
That is. I think we're even. I mean, look at the. Earlier, we saw Jesse show the stock price, how Disney's being impacted. It's just crashing. They hit the Titanic.
Yeah, it's down almost 4% again today. So
wow.
It's possible it could finish. It might finish today just above 158.
Where do you think it will settle out, though?
I don't know, because now everybody's charting it as bullish. It doesn't have a good outlook in the near future, mid range, or long term. Disney Plus Day was bad news for Plus on top of a couple of two films that back to back weren't received well. You have which the weird situation where the critics and the fans are kind of aligned on some stuff.
For the first time in a long time,
there's some weird stuff going on with Disney right now, and I don't know. I mean, they've been overvalued for a long time. I mean, but we'll have to see what the future looks like, and this is perfect timing.
Yes. So Mikey, are you gonna have a question, George?
Well, I was going to say, I think a lot of that value that they had, which I agree with culture, was based on a lot on the first phase, the first, second, and third phase of Marvel and how they were blowing through everything.
Exactly. It's content based.
But right now, I mean, think of it. You had Shang-Chi, you had Black Widow, Shang-Chi, you have Eternals. Plus, how did the series, how did the D+ series fare over the summer? You know, between Loki and Scarlet.
I'm sorry, guys, but I thought we were talking about Star Wars and,
well, we are,
Rogue Squadron.
We are, but I'm talking about but whenever you have a company, you have to look at it as a whole.
True, but we haven't gotten to that part yet, right? We still haven't heard from Mike. We still haven't heard from Jay or Culture or Jesse.
Right. Well, I was just addressing the
That's
whole
fair.
thing with Andre.
Okay.
Okay, someone decide what we do next.
Well, let's get everybody's take real quick on Rogue Squadron, then we'll jump into this thing that Mikey's had up here for about 30 minutes an hour more.
Well, I can take it down. No, I mean, I think this is a company who, whether Kagan gets extended or not, it goes back to what Jay said when we started the first round robin. I think we have a company that doesn't know what it's doing with what it's got and doesn't know where it's going. And in particular, they don't know what we want because they don't care about us and they don't engage with us. That's my point.
Mine is short and sweet. To me, this sounds like kind of the type of thing where you get a band going and they have a good first album, then the record company takes creative control away, and then they suck, and then no one makes any money.
Are you talking about like when Disney bought Star Wars to begin with, or just recently?
Yeah, that's what they do with everything. It's like a revolving door of just bastardizing things and thinking you know what's right, and you have no idea because you're not a creative person. You're a something else person. You should just do your job and let them do their job, because artists create things and most people don't.
So you're saying like they just buy the IP without a plan? Is that what you're saying?
Say again?
You're saying they buy the IP without a plan?
Well, that's the thing. They're corporate people. Corporate people always think they have a plan, and they always pat each other on the back about said plans. And if it doesn't work out the first time, add more bureaucracy to said plan.
Yeah,
something funny just happened on my I gotta show this because I can't, it's gone already. I brought up Yahoo Finance to look at market capitalization, and Jay, the first ad that came up was 9line Apparel, and it was your shirts, the Rebellion shirts were front and center on my Yahoo Finance. I know they're gone now. Doggone it. It's so cool.
Beautiful. That's beautiful.
It was like, and there's no reason, because the browser I'm using for this stuff for YouTube is never the browser or the computer that I use to buy the stuff that I ordered from 9line before.
Google knows you're talking to Jay.
That's good for Jay.
Yeah, that's amazing.
All right, let's look at some. Do you want to go back?
Who else had to go yet?
We haven't heard from Jay yet.
And so I
was the first one to go.
I was going to say I thought he was.
Were you? Oh, yeah. I must have missed that.
All right. So
then I think we're covered. Yeah.
All right. So what is this thing all about here, Mike? Because I couldn't read the whole story because it was behind a paywall.
Okay, so it says Netflix poised to join Disney in the $300 billion market cap club. So market cap, and George or anybody jump in if you want to join me with this, or anyone. But
it's quite shocking. I didn't know this was possible for somebody like Netflix.
Well, I think that speaks to the heat. The heat is on. So when we deal with market cap, which basically the price of the stock times the outstanding shares that people can buy out on the publicly traded market. And a company like Netflix, once upon a time, had little boxes on the side of 7-Elevens and little places that you would, mail in and get DVDs from, and then they merged and into a different company. Now, Disney is widely regarded as being one of the main Fortune, one of the major Fortune 100 companies, right? I mean, Disney is up there with companies like AT&T, Comcast. I mean, we're talking about legacy companies. So let me just read this. Just when investors were starting to lose faith in Netflix's growth story, the streaming giant came roaring back, proving content is still king. In the past few weeks, all anyone can seem to talk about is Netflix's latest blockbuster hit, Squid Game. The show has been a major win for the company from both the consumer and investor standpoint. The kind of hit investors are hoping can drive subscriber growth in many key regions, including Asia Pacific and even the US and Canada. And there's a chart chart about the top 10 most Netflix shows. Since the show's launch on September 17th, it has remained the top show on the platform. And last week, Netflix co-CEO Ted Sarandos said Squid Game had a very good chance of becoming the company's biggest show ever. Shonda Rhimes, now Bridgerton, currently holds a top spot, followed by the French series Lupin. The excitement around Netflix's fresh content pushed the stock up to an all-time highs of $640.39 on Tuesday. Hint, hint, what's Disney's stock per share value right now? The company's market cap was seen at a cool $283 billion as of market close Wednesday, an inch closer to the $300 billion market cap milestone. The only other major media giant to gain access to that exclusive club has been Disney, which joined on December 11th, 2020, following its investor presentation the day before. On December 7th, VIP Plus published a prediction that Disney would be the first big media company to cross the $300 billion market cap milestone. At the time, Disney was riding on Disney Plus's strong momentum, and now it appears Netflix has found a similar boost. Even though Disney still has the highest market cap among its peers, its valuation has basically stayed flat since it first crossed the $300 billion mark on December 11th. On the flip side, Netflix's market cap surged 27%, and Comcast gained 12% since then. Meanwhile, AT&T's market value sank 12%, dropped below $200 billion. Verizon was not included in the group this time around, as the sale of the media assets was finalized in September. Many were expecting 2021 to be the rapid year of recovery. While things were moving in the direction the first half of the year, progress came to a screeching halt. I'm going to skip down and say that's when Netflix struck. It announced an expansion into video games, launched an e-commerce site, selling merchandise, and held its first ever fan event, Toodum, to show off its upcoming content slate. Netflix is in full offensive mode, and its new strategic endeavors are giving fresh hope to investors. Its comeback arrives as Disney Plus's rapid rise loses some momentum. Disney CEO Bob Chapek warned of a slowdown in subscriber growth for Disney Plus at the Goldman Sachs Communicopia conference in late September. Chapek said investors should expect global paid subscriber growth in the low single-digit millions for the quarter ending.
And didn't
September.
he just say in the recent one too that their subscriber growth was down?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Tom. Good call. The warning said Disney shares plunging more than 4%. Investors had been banking on Disney Plus to provide much-needed support for the media giant during a time in which its core businesses were suffering through the ongoing pandemic. Disney Plus's growth had been extremely strong and looked like Netflix's strongest competitor in the streaming wars. However, the expectations headed into Q3 earnings shifted dramatically over the past couple weeks after Netflix's top position in the streaming wars was threatened following the company's weaker than expected first half. The mature streaming company could surprise investors this time around. Even so, Netflix still has a lot to prove when it reports its third quarter financial results. All right. So anyway, basically the deal here is that, Netflix is coming on. If you look at share price times a number of outstanding shares, where do you want to put your money? I think this is fascinating. What do you think? What do some of you guys think? George, you're at the top of the list here.
Well, I think after last year, after they had that cuties problem where they lost a few 100,000 subscribers, I think this is good for Netflix. I think they're coming back strong. I still think, especially with the Chappelle special that they had and the controversy that it built, the fact that they still stood behind him, even though they kept apologizing to everyone, I think it's boosting, it's helping them along. Then you had again Squid Game, and they're bringing on more shows. We're going to see how Cowboy Bebop's going to do, and then we have I forgot what other series was coming.
Cobra Kai starts in December.
Yeah, Cobra Kai. So I think they're coming into a good season for them, and then it's just good timing with Disney and what's happening with them.
Don't they also have Stranger Things soon too?
I was just going to say, I think there's another season of Stranger Things coming yet too.
I just don't know when it is.
I know there's a trailer. I haven't seen it yet. Chef didn't seem very impressed because she was watching while we were gaming.
So, Script Doctor, what do you think about this news about valuation in the company in terms of content and so forth?
Well, I think it's pretty good to see that the dominating factor for the streaming wars is getting a bit more clear now. We're able to see which players are showing their muscle and strengthening what they want to do. And as George said recently, just with regards to like the Chappelle special and Squid Game, Netflix is kind of realizing that they don't need to kowtow to some of the naysayers out there. They can do the content that they want, and they're actually still going to succeed with that. And I think that's a good sign.
Drunk?
I totally agree. I canceled Netflix after Cuties. I never got it back. So that's
I canceled.
I haven't seen Squid Games. I haven't seen a lot of these things because I just stand on my personal principles, not judging anybody else who has it.
So Drunk, you haven't seen Cobra
Kai? I saw the last season at my brother's house because he was like, "You have to watch it," because he wanted to talk to me about it so bad. So,
see, everybody's saying, "Oh, Cobra Kai," and then I got the DVD for the first 2 seasons. It's like, shit, I gotta get Netflix now.
So, Culture, what do you think?
I'm still not gonna get it. So,
Culture, what do you think about this valuation news for Netflix?
To me, it seems like the natural order has been restored. But again, I mean, Netflix is unlike Disney. Netflix isn't a multifaceted business yet. I mean, they did announce, as you said, gaming, diving into gaming and some other stuff. But I don't, like I said, what I see from them in the future is maybe they reach out beyond those bounds as well, unlike Disney. But to me, I think, and this is a conversation I had the other day, and I don't know if you'll agree with me, Mike, but maybe some other people might. I think the streaming growth has matured. I think we've saturated the market with enough different streaming services that the subscribers are now essentially going to just be where they are at. I mean, I know the global game is still not done yet, but for the most part, for Netflix, Disney, and a lot of these others that have expanded into these other territories, those incremental gains aren't going to be significant. It's now going to be the competition that will decide who the big winners are in the streaming wars. I think we've moved on from who's going to be the most subscribed to who's going to ultimately be the ones that stick around. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, because you had a lot of, I mean, how many people started their streaming services didn't you have in the last 3 years? You had Paramount, they started theirs, and now they're part of is it Discovery Culture?
Yeah, well, I mean, you have the Warner Media Discovery that merger, when that finishes up, and that's a reverse Moore's trust. So that, because of taxes and stuff like that, actually Hollywood Reporter did a great article on that today. But if you look at why they're doing it that way, it's to keep the value in that company going forward, not create this weird tax circumstance or create a debt issue is on top of it. There's a lot of weird reasons why they did that. But what I think is going to happen is you're going to end up with 4 streaming streaming services. And then I think a bunch of also rans that are bundled together.
Right. It kind of reminds me of like the 1999, when the .com bubble burst. You had everybody was creating a .com, and then that started to weed out all the chaff. And these streaming wars, I think I've done the same thing. Everybody was starting a streaming service, and all of a sudden we're going to have, just like Culture said, who's going to be left? You might have 4 or 5 left at the end of the day.
Well, and you have to also remember, Disney's had a lot of failure in the tech side of things. I mean, they brought a lot of tech out that didn't pan out. And you just mentioned the .com thing.
Yeah.
They bought go.com, right?
Mm-hmm.
That right now, that's really only used for their own tools at this point.
Oh, that I didn't know.
Yeah, it didn't pan out.
Wow.
No, Jesse, I want to get your take because I got a few things to say about this, but yeah.
Well, I don't know. I feel like I'm going to end up, unless they come out with something new, I'm going to cancel my Netflix after Stranger Things. Well, I'm going to get it next year again when Cobra Kai comes back. I mean, there's going to be a giant lull in there.
Well, and that's actually the other problem, right? I mean, to be honest with you, it's one of the reasons why Disney Plus is kind of falling flat and why they're not gaining more North American subscribers. I mean, let's just be honest.
Right. Well, they need better content.
Yeah, you can only watch the Marvel movies so many times.
Right. It always comes down to content with whatever. If it's in the publishing industry or in the streaming industry.
Well, that kind of goes where I was going to go with this. Because, like, here's the thing. And I mean, anybody who's been watching the channel for any number of years, streaming wars is a word that we've been saying for a while. I can't say we coined the term, but I'm pretty sure we were one of the first ones to talk about it because we knew this was looming before some of these channels were even named or coined or even announced in some cases. But as I pointed out time and time again, the reason a lot of these companies wanted to get in on this is because they saw Netflix as a very big profitable company. They're like, look at all this money we're making off of Netflix, not thinking that the reason they were making that money was because Netflix was paying them and it was all this, back and forth. And then when they got into this game, especially Disney and Warner learned off the bat that it wasn't what they thought it was going to be. Plus, they rushed into this whole thing. So you had two companies that rushed into it. You had Netflix and Amazon, who are already really, really well established, right? And then you had all these other companies that sprouted up around them. Hulu is the only one that's kind of been around, but that's an American-based company, so that one's never really talked about as much. But Amazon is always overlooked. But Amazon is kind of like what we call the mainstay, right? Between Netflix and Amazon are like the two mainstays. And we read an article about this a while back. And
who do you think will come out ahead? Do you think Amazon will? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm just
no. You're right. Amazon is kind of like they're just there because they got the whole thing is Amazon Prime comes with the free shipping and stuff.
Right.
And we talked about it before. Like I think there's some 30% or something of the people that have Amazon Prime don't even realize or they don't use the video part. But it is there and they have it.
Because don't you have Wheel of Time coming out? They have the Lord of the Rings. I mean, I don't know how that's going to go, but they're bringing on some big IP.
And Amazon really pushes a lot more of the movies and stuff too.
And honestly, they're the ones that I rent from because it's like,
right.
If I can't, I'll go through the normal search and will tell me like if I look for GoldenEye, it will tell me all the different options I have to watch GoldenEye, different qualities, and then what price or free or whatever. If there is no free, Amazon is hooked up to all my shit anyway, so I just click on there, search it, and they got everything, you know.
Well, Amazon's smart in that respect, and they actually handle a lot of the digital hubbing for a lot of these video services anyway. So like that'll be the differences is like Amazon will be kind of like a local hub for a lot of these things. And that's why they'll stick around. Netflix will possibly stick around. But what I was going to get to is we had talked about this time and time again, and they actually did an article about it that we covered. And we've talked about it a few times where basically what people will do is hop around. They'll pick one mainstay, which whether it's Amazon or Netflix, and then they'll hop around to all the other services. 1 month they'll have HBO Max, 1 month they'll have Disney Plus, 1 month they'll have Peacock, and so on down the line.
It's like following the circus of towns on which where the shows are at this month.
Tom, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Just out of curiosity, what do you think that with all these different streaming services, we're gonna eventually start to see like more types of mergers, where it'll just be like, instead of like getting 7 different streaming services, like 3 will come together, and it'll just be like Apple TV and Peacock and all these others that will.
Yes, we're already seeing it because of Discovery and Warner blending.
Then everybody will compare the price of everything to their old cable bills and be like, we didn't improve anything.
I think at some point Amazon will probably take up Paramount Plus's.
Oh, really?
Oh, I think so. Yeah.
I think Apple will probably buy up
somebody.
We'll get involved with Sony and somebody else. Yeah. Even though Sony's real chummy right now with Netflix.
Yep.
Apple is like chomping at the bit to buy a movie studio right now.
Yep.
MGM we know is going to Amazon.
Amazon, I think, rules the day on everything because at the end of the day, they're doing Blue Horizon, right? So they're going to have.
They're the sleeping giant. Everybody keeps forgetting about because they don't even really mention them in this article, right?
Yeah, they're making their own space company. I mean, you think they can't get their own satellites and their own space system?
Absolutely.
No, but I think you're dead on, Jay. Eventually, what's going to happen is a lot of these smaller ones are not going to be able to
compete.
Keep up.
Yeah.
When the dust settles, you're going to have Disney Plus, you're going to have Netflix, you're going to have HBO Max, and you're going to probably have Peacock just because Peacock can stay standing because of Comcast, and they got a little bit more.
Because Comcast has the actual infrastructure, same thing with AT&T.
And then what'll happen is Amazon and Apple TV and all these other ones will probably soak up what's left over.
So who gets Hulu, mommy or daddy?
That's a good question.
It'll all depend on how they can do it legally, because then you're going to run into the monopoly issues probably.
Right. But it seems like the a la carte is going to go away because it's going to basically like, all these streaming services came out and then everyone's like, look at all the options that I have. And now it's going to go back into 3 or 4 left.
Well, I think that is probably true. I mean, it's going to be like pay television was. You have Showtime, HBO, Cinemax, and all that. That's kind of what it's going to end up being. And it's going to be a luxury. And, until they try to put a contract, which believe me, I don't think it works in their favor if they just try to obligate people to contracts. You're going to have exactly what Tom described. You're going to have people hopping around to whatever has.
Well, and then the other thing that's going to come into play is something that Script and I have brought up a few times, and that is the ad revenue. Sooner or later, they're going to have to open these up to more ad-based systems, and some of them already have. So it's not
some
like
of them started with that. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So it's
Peacock and Warner's now diving deeply into that with the Discovery merger. So you're going to see 3 tiers with Discovery. You'll see you'll see the 3 tiers over, with Peacock. You'll see 3 tiers in the future, I believe, for Disney. I think the only one that won't be that way will be Amazon, because again, it's like the throw-in with Amazon, and they're not even paying attention to them as a streaming service, which is weird.
And there's always the possibility that there might be an aggregate streaming, not aggregate, an affiliate streaming service, where that streaming service purchases shows from various other streaming networks to air exclusively. So that's just a one package deal. So that you don't have to subscribe to 4 different streaming services. You subscribe to one, but you're only getting the shows that you want to watch. And
that's
then
kind of what Amazon
like a secondary
is
company
point,
that's like
exactly,
a centralized hub.
Mm-hmm. Wait, what did you both say?
I said
two of you were
Amazon
talking at the same time.
Sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Wait.
Somebody.
Go ahead, Tom.
Oh, Jesse said something, so I didn't hear that.
Go ahead, Jesse.
It sounds like he's talking about like a secondary company that just creates a centralized hub for everything. Like you have all your bills grouped up.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was saying, is Amazon's kind of already ahead of the game by doing that.
Yeah, that's where they want to go. I mean, look, grocery space, movies,
Would they involve something like that where they just consolidate your different bills, or would they just buy each other out?
Well, that's how the service system has been going, especially like once we had the telephone, and then the telephone companies got into cable and then into internet. The advertising angle was it's all on one bill, and I think that's what customers would prefer. You only have to manage one bill. So if they can find a way to do that with the streaming services, they will.
Yeah, because you know what? You guys just made me realize. I think I'm subscribed to some FYE thing that I'm paying for.
Well, that's just it. That's how Amazon gets me. Is I got like stars and a couple other things through there, and I just don't pay attention because it comes with my Amazon stuff. So yeah, you're right. That's kind of where it's going to end up going. Is whatever's left over after the dust settles is going to probably get picked up piece by piece between Amazon and Apple. Because Apple's the one you got to remember is they can do anything at any moment. Like they can make a change at any time because they've got the money and swing this whole thing one way or another. It could go crazy, but it all depends on what they're allowed to do legally. So like, again, we got to remember, anytime one of these companies wants to buy another one of these out, you got to go through all the nonsense like Discovery's going through right now with, Warner. I think they're still waiting to see if that's all going to go through. Amazon still got to wait for their AOK to buy MGM, even though I think the Discovery ones, they got Laszlo. He did move in last week. Even though it hasn't gone through yet, he's getting ready. So things are moving and shaking over there. I know that, but that's kind of what we're seeing is already some of these kind of conglomerations of the 2 and 3 people together, and it's going to happen. Paulus Plains says, dudes, Q1, how long will the war of the SJWs and Wokies last? Q2, when will we get back our rule of a good story law? Q3, are we winning the war?
I think he means question 3.
Those are questions.
Okay. Oh, question 3.
Yeah, because typically there are 4 quarters.
I thought it was like, I was like, wait, for Q4 is we won. No, question 1. How long will the war of SJWs and Wokies last? Well, that's a question I don't think anybody has a definitive answer for, but we can hope no longer than it has to. Does anybody got a quick take on that?
I don't think it'll last long. I was just talking about that in something that I just did last week, but I think it's going to be shorter than most people think. I wouldn't give it another. I'd say 2 to 3 years at most. That's just my gut feeling. That's my gut feeling. Especially think about it. If we take it from a media perspective. Every time they go woke, I looked at Eternals. It's kind of like where Marvel planted its flag. They had a rich story that they could have broken it out into 3 or 4 films, in my opinion. And instead, they put it all together, and they had their message was, diversity, inclusivity. I mean, you had some of the actors literally talking about this movie is going to save the world. And I think that they did more damage to the film because the film itself wasn't that woke. I mean, it didn't hit you over the head with a hammer every 5 minutes. But I think when they keep including those types of messages, and if that's the decision that they've made, is this is their herald, this is their trumpeting call, like here's where we go, I think it'll hurt them in the long run quicker than if they had just kept it subtle.
Well, I know, like, here's the thing we keep pointing out to people is like anything we see in Hollywood, it takes 2-3 years to get done. if not more than that in some cases. So a lot of, and we also got to remember, a lot of the stuff we're seeing now is already 3-4 years old as it is because of things being shut down. So again, it takes a while for that kind of stuff to change, but I do think we're seeing, I agree with you to a point where we're seeing a change in, it kind of kicked off more so with really big time with the whole Chappelle thing earlier this year. And then now we're seeing the whole thing with this court case playing out the way it is, and just certain other things with the other things we can't talk about with the jabs and stuff like that. Things are kind of swinging a bit.
We're getting sick of communism.
Right.
Yeah. Well, not just that, but they're getting sick of the woke SJW bullshit. And I'm having normal people ask me what woke is and all that kind of stuff. So,
but the thing is, I mean, just look at the Virginia elections. You had, the last I read, 15% of the people who were responding had voted for Biden. And they were like, there's no way. You're talking blue Democrats, hardcore. And they voted Republican just because they said, we're sick of this.
Yeah,
we're just tired of the woke.
All that just goes with what I always say is that the media likes to like put out there that the world is like, blue and red, when really most of the country is a varying grades of purple, as I point out.
Yeah,
again.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever happened to being normal in the middle of the road?
That's kind of what most people are, and I think there's a lot of people waking up to this idea that these things are being taken over finally, not just us.
Can I just say that
I
it's
think
funny?
It's funny when people refer to the Overton window shifting, because it hasn't shifted. It's been broken with a baseball bat. We need a new one, and we replace it where the old window used to go.
I just love Jesse talking about middle of the road, because to me, I never think of Jesse as middle of the road. He's awesome.
Well, I just think the fact is that the country has generally stayed the same. It's the portrayal from the media. I mean, you have these people with a large megaphone who turn around and said, this is the way we are, this is who we are, and this is where we're going. And the country's like, we're never going to get there. It's just now they're responding to it. And I think, to go on a point that Tom was making, how they shoot these films and they come out 2 or 3 years later, I'm really wondering if their next slate of movies are going to be more like Eternals or even be more woke.
Well,
and if that happens, there'll be a backlash.
Andre has warned that we're gonna see a swing, and I brought it up too. I don't know if Script has anything to say about this, since he's a little bit more foot on the ground and the inside. But I mean, have you seen any changes yet on your end?
A little bit subtle, but the thing is, like, as I spoke with you and Andre some time ago, I predicted that I think by 2024 is when we're really going to start to see a significant difference.
Right.
And it's going to take a while, because again, Hollywood moves slow. Average between 2 and 3 years just for a single production, based on that production itself. And then you also have the fact that there's been years of these people who have entered the industry, and they're going to hold on to the positions that they have come hell or high water, and they're not going to let this go without a fight. So, I mean, the war is going to last for a few more years, but it's going to get louder. But that's only just because they're losing. So,
and I think that answers the next two questions right there.
I have to slide out, unfortunately. I'm
no
sorry.
problem, Culture. That's all right.
I just wanted you guys to two thoughts that I didn't get to express before. Number one, there is no way there's a 3-year contract. If there is, that flies in the face of what Chapek said directly about short-term contracts for all the executive level positions that in the studio system. So he really wanted to get to 1-year terms and negotiate every year. If that's the case, it's a complete change in his philosophy. And the second thing is, as far as this is concerned, nothing will change for 4 or 5 years, because of the way the production system works. And maybe that's why Disney pushed back some more stuff, is as the dominoes fall and they keep having to make changes or reshoots or whatever, it pushes all these films back another spot. Pretty soon, I mean, you might get to a point where they realize that these are making less money than they need to, and they may decide to go back to actually doing storytelling. But who knows? So, are we winning? Not yet. Could we win? Maybe. A lot of it's going to have to do with everybody just shutting down the money. And you know what? The good Tom King actually mentioned that in the chat. Anyway, I got to dip out. Thank you for having me today, guys. I really had a good time. Jay, it's great to see you, buddy. I can't wait to see you in Florida soon.
Much love, brother. Can't wait to see you either.
The rest of you guys, man, just take care. Keep fighting. Keep educating. I appreciate you all. Peace.
Have a good night.
See you, Culture.
All right. So I think that's a pretty good answer for Paulus's question there, unless anybody else has anything else to add to it.
The only thing I would add is I think we're winning. That's only where Culture and I disagree. I think because of their reaction in any one movie, for any one thing. Again, going back to Chappelle, even the fact that Netflix had the spine initially to suspend employees who had burst into the office. I know they lost that spine. They came back and rehired them, but they still are sticking behind Chappelle. His tour and the way he's been embraced, the media keeps portraying it as anybody who's watching him is of racist or foe, or whether you have critics who for the first time, look, they're trashing a Marvel movie. Not all of them, but they are. All of these things look to me like we're winning, and you always have to have that perspective. I mean, we can say gloom and doom all day long, but when you look at things, when you take a step back, winners do not throw fits. If they were winning, they just keep doing what they're doing and be like, oh, this is great. They wouldn't keep countering the message.
Right. And I hope Ghostbusters is another kick to them, to that whole idea. And we've seen that already in the reaction to some of the reviews. In fact, we're dropping a video here in about an hour that's going to get on this subject specifically about how a lot of these reviewers are going after this movie and basically judging it on the fact that it's not a sequel to the 2016 movie and that's it. Right, like that's their main gripe with this movie, and that's
a gripe.
Oh yeah, and basically, there's a lot of critics who are review bombing. You got to remember,
what was this? Was this thing written in a crayon, or
you got to remember, Jesse? Most of these critics gave the 2016 film glowing fucking reviews. The only
have you seen any scenes from that movie?
Of course, I have, Jesse. Half the reason I'm here is because of that movie.
It's not even that it's not funny. It's just annoying. Like it's like being tortured to watch it. It feels like the Ludovico technique.
I remember when that movie came out, the only respectable critic that I know of that gave that movie an actual review was Richard Roper.
Wow.
He ripped that fucking movie apart.
Good.
And I applauded his ass for that. I tell you what. Because every other critic was eating that movie's ass, and it was just like, are you fucking kidding me? Because I even tried to be fair about it, and oh my god. Well, here's one thing I can say. No,
dude, Andre, you could give that movie like a hell of a handicap, and it'll still come out with.
No, yeah, exactly. And actually, this bringing this up actually reminds me, because Andre and I just talked about this. We're planning on doing a roundtable on the first two Ghostbuster films, the original two.
That sounds like
to kind of bring everything full circle for Midnight's Edge, because the new film coming out. And then Thursday night, we're going to do a roundtable. I know Mike's going to be there. I'm going to be there. Script, unfortunately, I know you can't see it. I think Jesse's going to be able to make it. We'll see who else can come in. But we're going to talk about that Thursday night here on this channel. So it'll be in place.
I won't be able to see it until Friday.
Oh, you're not going to be able to see it till Friday? Well, at least it'll be me, Mike, and whoever else I can muster up then to see it. So
yeah, I mean,
what day is it out?
I'm literally going
Thursday, actually.
I'm going to 1 o'clock. I'm literally taking a date, but I'm gonna make sure I drop Ross and come back and set up the live stream with you.
Yeah, I'll never get out of work.
That's commitment, sir.
Yeah, but Andre and I just talked about it this morning. I've been wanting to do this. I think he was totally on board with it. So we're going to do a roundtable talking about the first two original Ghostbuster movies to kind of bring everything, like I said, full circle for Midnight's Edge. And we got a great video coming up that I worked all fucking day on yesterday. I was working on it while it was even on Doomcock stream. So I was literally spending almost all day on it yesterday. Almost a 20-minute video, and I spent almost all 20 some hours on it. Organic Vistas says this was $98 prior to preheat of stream, over $200 in use. Burnt out, it's dipped. Time to buy next gen of Star Wars Sans. KK will pump. Nerds. He always has these cryptic kind of.
It's like beatnik poetry, isn't it?
It is. It is like it's like what's the word I'm looking for? A haiku.
Haikus.
Yeah. And then we had a super sticker from Big Daddy MRI here. Let me see if I can bring up what that was. My thing catches up. Unless somebody already knows what it is, they can help me out. Whoops, there it went. I got it. It's a thank you with a pear, and he's just giving us like a bow, like a sensei kind of thing. Oh, Polly's in the chat too. How you doing, buddy? HVP sends in $2. Is streaming causing a decline in physical media? Actually, physical media had a bump this year, but it was mostly because of COVID, most likely. But Script, I'm going to ask you this first, and then we'll get around the panel real quick.
Okay.
Do you think streaming is causing a decline in physical media, coming from somebody on the inside of the industry?
I think it's going to have a temporary decline, but I think it's going to get a peak once they realize that they're not going to be able to find the shows that they want on those certain platforms, because it's going to be cycled through, just like what Netflix did years ago and still does to this day. They have movies that they've licensed for a short period of time that you can always watch on Netflix, and then it goes away, and then you don't have it anymore. And when people kind of get wise to that habit that's going to be applied to the rest of the streaming services, I think they're going to go back to physical media, and there's going to be another demand for it.
Jay?
As far as,
do you think streaming is causing a decline in physical media?
Absolutely. I don't buy anything anymore. I just
George?
download it. I'm a minimalist, so like I don't keep stuff.
Well, that's the thing, is there are people who are like that, where it's not so much that they just don't want the clutter.
Yeah.
That's big for
basically
me.
down to collectors want to collect, and if you're not a
Like
collector,
Tom.
you're right. It's
Couldn't agree
easier just
more.
to be digital.
You should see.
Yeah, because they are coming out with those beautiful, like the collector's boxes that come out for some of the movies that we love are gorgeous. Like they put a lot of work. You get posters and cards and extra footage and all this stuff like that to buy now. It seems like that's the way to go. Like I agree, it's for collectors. I don't. Yeah, I have no reason to buy it. I just would rather just click a button and then watch. So
I found it more difficult. I mean, I used to go to Best Buy every week, and now they've wiped out. They used to have rows, and it's just now one display.
Oh yeah, you used to go there to actually find the stuff you couldn't find other places.
Anywhere else.
Now, it's like,
every Tuesday, right?
Yep, every Tuesday. Exactly.
I still go to Best Buy. I'm sorry to jump in. I'm sorry, we're done. George?
No.
I didn't mean to interrupt George.
Go.
Okay, sorry, but I was just going to piggyback on you. I also go to Best Buy. I still go to Best Buy. What I've noticed, well, first of all, Tom got me on a 4K kick now. So,
yeah, me too.
so I mean, you know, I don't do weed or any of that stuff, but I feel like I'm going to my 4K dealer now. Like I know it too. I go to Best Buy once a week, and here's what I've noticed. I've noticed like the 4K section is getting bigger, but everything else is getting smaller.
It is. That's the thing. It's like I talked to one of the managers there because I've been going to the same store for years. And I'm like, what are y'all doing? They go, we're pushing streaming. They're going, Best Buy corporate just announced that they're doing this all across the country and all their stores. And they're like, nope, everything's going streaming. I'm like, but what about us? All the people that come every week is like streaming. I bought a system. I bought a system called Kaleidoscape last year because they said they had, they're going to have every movie on it. It's going to be in 4K quality, and the ones that aren't are like UHD. And still, I don't find everything that I want. So I'm still ordering the media because I like also to collect them. So I guess Jesse was right. It goes back down to collecting. Even Jay was saying that. But I enjoy
the same thing with comic books, man. I mean, like you pick up a movie, you like it, then you got to get all the movies.
Well, do you think it's causing a decline, though, Jesse? To answer the question,
yes, yeah, definitely. I mean, it has to, because all the people who want the convenience are just going to go for it.
Yeah.
You see,
streaming has
the reason I don't like it is because once I bought a movie, it was either an X-Men movie or heavy metal, but I switched accounts and I lost it, and they couldn't switch it over. And I'm like, well, now that's gone. So I didn't.
Jesse, it's funny you mentioned that about convenience, because just the other day, I think it was it Saturday, I said to myself, I'm going to just watch a movie, a random one. I'm just going to watch a movie. And I said, you know what? I feel like seeing Godzilla. Mm-hmm. And I knew that I had bought it. I mean, I knew you had it physically, but I also knew I had it. I had an electronic version somewhere. And I'm like, fuck, I can't even remember where I bought that. Was it Amazon? Was it here? Was it that? I said, fuck it. So I just grabbed the DVD, went downstairs, put it in the 4K player that Tom helped me buy, and I watched it. And that was faster than if I could have tried to figure out where the hell I had originally bought it from back before I had the physical media.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there's no folder. It's not like you have you have a Bitcoin wallet or something for all of your physical media.
Yeah,
I also like it because you own it. It's not something someone can take away from you just to add on to what they were saying.
Well, and that's where I was going to jump into this. Is like, yes, there's the convenience aspect. Yes, it is causing a decline, but going off of what everybody's been saying here, you have a few factors that get pointed out quite often by us. One, there's plenty of parts of America that have shit internet still, so your choices are limited on what you can watch. So DVDs still take up, what is it, 40% of the market script?
I think around that, maybe a little
like
less,
that.
Still enough.
and then like a good 30%, I think, is Blu-ray, and then the rest is taken up by 4K. So like, that's still physical media is selling, and DVD is still king, basically, because there's a lot of areas that do that. Not only that, there's a lot of areas where you have like their libraries are being taken over by DVDs now instead of books.
Wow.
So that's another thing.
That's another thing. Like he was saying, he likes to have it because no one could take it from him. Well, no one could change it. They change movies.
Well, that's
all the
my
time.
next point.
That's
exactly.
That's why I like old books, because unless somebody comes in and steals it and burns it, it's
Right.
still there.
Yeah.
Well, we've already run into a few cases of this, and unlike where you just said you just changed your account, Jesse, there's situations where they'll lose the license to these movies, and if you don't have it stored in some
they
way,
just scoop it on you.
It just goes bye-bye. And there's nothing you can do about it. And a lot of these services make it very difficult to actually physically download these things in any way, shape, or form. You can download them to like their app, but even like my Vudu app, it's limited, very limited. And the same thing with Amazon. I haven't been able to figure out how to download anything outside of songs off there. So again, I have yet to run into a service where I can actually download any of these movies in any way without watching them with the app, which I still think you got to be online to watch it. So there's the other problem. What happens if your internet goes out?
Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I interject real quick? If you buy off iTunes, you could download them onto your player.
Yeah, but you have to watch it through an iTunes player, which is one caveat, but still.
But you can do it without Wi-Fi. And
exactly.
Because I do that on airplanes all the time. So
yeah, but what about when you have like I used to buy this series called the Sharp series with Sean Bean in it, and I bought it off of iTunes, and then it was like a year later. It disappeared. I had to download it actually from my history. I know it's not a big deal, but what's the next step? What happens? I don't know why that happened. But then 6 months after that, they introduced a new Sharp series, meaning the same series, but with new labels, new covers. But for a while, I couldn't get it. I had to go back into my history. It wasn't available.
Thing, yeah.
Right, but I was thinking, so if I didn't have it in my, meaning one day they do it where they've removed it off the site, you can't buy it unless you've already purchased it. Well, what happens if they say, well, now you can't access it in your history? So that's still why I go to physical media.
Yeah, well, that's a possibility. Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's not like they're going to give you a refund.
Oh, no, yeah. Apple actually had this problem, and what they did was just gave free rentals.
See, like the movie posters behind him, right? I'm a sucker for the old movie posters and old video covers, right? That's completely lost in digital.
Oh, yeah.
You get
now you're speaking to my... Like, here's the thing, and I wish Andre was here too.
Oh yeah, dude, there's been so many awesome covers.
Custom covers. Well, there's good ones, and then there's horrid fucking ones, and we get into a lot of that stuff on some of our other physical media shows. But it runs the gamut as far as like what you have. You have really great stuff, and then you have some that are just I hate, and there's some notorious ones. Melvin Belliard says, "Good afternoon, gentlemen. I think Tom had the best analogy on Friday's Midnight's Edge in the Morning when it came to Marvel Arc. Was connecting it to GNR, just find another band and connect to Star Wars." Yeah, Star Wars, I guess. Let's see. You have 3 eras, one good, one not so good, and one horrible. Metallica?
Metallica was good?
Oh, I was just thinking the same goddamn thing, Script. Thanks. Fuck. Well, because that's not quite the Beatles. Oh, Pink Floyd. There you go. Yeah, because that's kind of closer. I guess Pink Floyd would be a better one, but even some of the newer Pink Floyd stuff ain't that bad. I did like their last new song; it was pretty good, even though Roger had nothing to do with it really. So, no, I don't know. I'd have to think on that one a little bit.
Hey, Tom, Drunk's got to roll out.
Yeah, no problem. We're actually going to be wrapping up here soon anyway. But Drunk, do you have anything you want to plug or anything you want to promote?
No, I really just want to thank all of you guys and people in the chat. The 9line stuff just went crazy, and I saw people that couldn't even buy or like retweeted and did all those things, and the podcast is doing amazing, and I'd love to have all you guys on. I'm trying to schedule now, and I just want to say thank you for all the encouragement and retweets and reaching out for so many of you here on the panel, and I see you on the chat. It really meant a lot to me. It's been a crazy few months. So all in the
Jay, you're doing
so.
fantastic. Your new podcast is absolutely amazing. And
Thank you.
And then the people in the chat, if you're not a member to channel, if you join a membership to his channel, what he does, or Patreon, is that he then continues the conversations and does deep dives and covers stuff that isn't necessarily YouTube friendly. Jay, you're doing a great job with that, with both sides of the coin. I've never been more proud to be a member and supporter of your channel, like so many of us are. You're doing amazingly great work, and we're cheering you on.
Absolutely.
Very humbling. Thank you. Thank you so much. So that's it, Tom. Always a pleasure. I know we've been missing because of my work, but I'd love to change that. I know we've been missing each other.
No, I know it happens, man. I give you shit about it, but like, no,
I
know
you
how
can,
it is.
but I know it's out of love. It's all good.
I know, yeah, exactly. And no, I'm so glad you were able to make it in here today. This has been a treat to have you hop in with us, man. So check out Jay's channel,
Thank
of course.
you, thank you guys,
and Park Hopping as well. So there you go.
Appreciate it. Y'all have a wonderful, amazing Monday. I'll talk to y'all.
Take care of yourself.
And
man.
I'd just like to say I appreciate all of your altruism throughout the time that I've known of you.
Oh, thank you, man.
Takes a lot to do
that.
things for
I appreciate it. That means a lot.
Have a great day, Jay.
Sexiest man on YouTube.
I'm gonna go have some Arby's for lunch.
Ooh, that sounds good,
actually. And before you pop out, I just want to say thanks for joining so much. It's awesome to have you here. Awesome to see you again. Sorry, I had to pop
Andre,
out myself.
thank you.
Andre's
thank you so much.
I think.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like I'm alone with 2 kids here, so I have to try to balance everything.
He's watching Paw Patrol.
And now it's bedtime on top of everything. So
yeah, and I got a dog.
Have a great one.
Nuts.
Have a great day, Jay.
So yeah, Melvin Belliard, thank you for that. I'll think on that, and I'll try to come up with a good analogy for Star Wars. And then the next one down here, where'd it go? This thing now it's jumping on me again, but we can still go back. But okay.
Well, I'll sort it out. If you have like a delivery coming, and then
I'm not sure what's going on, but Sadie was barking for like the last 20 minutes. Now she's quit. Now that you're back, but
now it's no longer urgent.
Well, I'll try and go see what's going on. Why don't you take Mega Wing Zero here?
Yeah, we got it. We got it. Go.
The Mega Wing Zero says for $20. When I saw the Marvel announced their lineup for movie and shows, I rolled my eyes because I think they're going to make a movie and a show a big world-changing event, and it's going to be a giant mess, just like the current state of comics. And yeah, I see what you're saying, and I do kind of agree that it does look like they're trying to outdo themselves and do this world reality-changing thing, and just like the comics, it's going to be a complete and total disaster. Mm-hmm. This is what I think is so frustrating with Marvel. They were off to such an amazing start, and they had decades of amazing stories in the comics to adapt. And then they just went straight from Infinity War to the worst period in the comics there's ever been, namely the modern one. And they just bypassed
Andre, the
20,
thing
30
is,
years of great stories.
Man, they're storyboards.
Exactly.
All the
They're
work
storyboards.
done. Just
and the most frustrating, there's the Eternals.
The bubbles.
I mean, you should have used Jack Kirby's storyboards there, but yeah, don't even get me started on that. But anyway,
years worth of comic books in the one movie.
Yeah, so incredibly frustrating how they completely and utterly botched that. I'm just going to, because I've been out for a little while, I'm just going to see if there's any more super chats before or after that we missed here. Let's see. We're caught up till this point, right?
I think so.
I'll take your word for it.
I think that's what Tom said.
Yeah. Okay. Then I trust what he said. After that, I'll see if I can find it or if I have to go back too far in the chat here. Otherwise, I'm just going to go straight to the repository behind the scenes here. Let's see how far back we have to go. Meanwhile, T Neil 89 says, "Wait, is Jesse a pirate or a lumberjack?" To which I say, one does not have to rule out the other.
Yeah, I know.
How do you think he built his boat?
Yeah. No, you just steal those.
He's a lumberjack that pirates, and when he's busy pirating, he's selling lumber to other ships.
I have chopped down a lot of trees, though.
And T Neil 89, he also said for $2, wish I had enough room for RLM like wall of DVDs. Is that Red Letter Media? Because that would be pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I think they have a warehouse that they shoot in.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, better. Yeah, they probably have like that warehouse filled with VHSs.
I want to know how much space Tom's collection takes up.
Big.
Well,
because he's
more
never
than
like,
what's
I
left.
don't have that.
Yeah, I wish that I had room for such a collection, but I have to move house at some point, I guess.
The worst thing is when you've collected for years, but every time they change a format, you still are obsessed and you want the movie in the new format, and you go from DVD to Blu-ray, or what was it? HD DVD, then Blu-ray.
Yeah, it was HD because it was DVD, and then you had like two competing formats, right. HD DVD and Blu-ray, of which the superior, namely Blu-ray, won out, which is a good thing. But I have the solution for that. Custom covers, and I got into it because of exactly how you said. Like, I wanted the covers to look like this cover right here, or actually no. When I got into custom covers, it was like, I love how this looks, apart from this one cover,
right?
Because this is such like glaring and shiny, and it really kind of like just ruins the Blu-ray shelf. And I see there's like a web page where I can print out my own custom covers. So I'm just gonna replace the cover for this one that ruins my entire Blu-ray collection. And I did that. And I was like, wow, that was awesome. That cover looks super sweet now. Unfortunately, now it's all the other covers that look like hell.
Oh, wow.
And
yeah.
Custom covers.
I mean, I still
have
a
vicious cycle.
Yeah, it really is.
I have stuff from Beta. You remember Beta, Andre? Betamax?
Not personally. I'm young enough that it is within my memories, but I'm aware of it. Yeah.
I mean, I pulled my collection out 4 months ago, and I still have VHS and Betas up until DVD, and then DVDs and UHD. Laserdisc, the big Laserdiscs.
Yeah, that was the one point where the Laserdisc ended up taking up more space than the VHS because it was the size of a vinyl record. And then they did DVDs. You're like, oh, I can now collect more movies with DVD and Blu-ray. And we were hoping that the next physical phase would be maybe a third of that size. So then you could actually only have like maybe a closet full of all the same movies that would normally take up your living room size.
Yeah,
but they exactly. That and then went straight to streaming, where it's like, okay, it's now just on my modem or
you skipped over CDI.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of formats, but yeah.
I remember thinking like, whoa, this CDI thing, this looks really cool. It's just that the picture quality is crap, and you can't fit a movie on a disc.
Well,
that was like unfortunate. But
outside of tuning into 4K for you, I suggest checking out our stream we did with Bill Hunt. Bill Hunt. Way back when, it's where we first talked about
still one wars. Of our greatest streams, and so ahead of its time.
Yeah. And we talk about a lot of the whole how DVD came to be, the whole history of home video.
Oh, I want to look at that.
Yeah. Well, we'll put a link here, and also we predicted everything that's happening right now in the streaming wars. We predicted, like, I believe it was 5 years ago we did that stream. It still only has like 10,000 views or something.
Yeah, I know. Sadly, it's now we're both well viewed, but it's like a 2-hour discussion with him, and I mean, we go through the entire of course, there's a few minor formats we overlook, but we go through the entire history for the most part of home video up through now, and then we talk about the future of streaming war and how this is going to affect things going forward.
I'm going to find the link for this.
Just considering how long ago it was, it is kind of cool.
Well, the reason I kept my Laserdisc was I had the Star Wars set, and that was the last time they had that Lucas's original.
Now, I was never fortunate enough to get into Laserdisc. I had a buddy who did.
My player died, so I just have all these discs. I'm like hoping one day to get it fixed.
Pissed at him because he went and sold his whole entire home theater system with his Laserdisc and collection for like next to nothing. And I'm like, I would have gave you like twice that. Are you dumb?
And I don't want to replace them all.
I used to go to 2 places each week. There was a place he used to be owned by Radio Shack. It was
this is the stream we're talking about. It's a link to right there now. Cool. Like, this is for anyone into any kind of physical media. This is a must-watch stream. In fact, I'm going to put it on the 4K for you playlist as well, which you'll find over at Midnight Edge Live Archives.
It's kind of a prototype for that in a way.
Yeah, in a way it is.
I mean, I want to ask Bill to come back because I got to give him a big, like, you were right, I got to eat a bunch of crow, because I used to argue with him up and down about 4K, and now I'm totally eating crow on that. Then Paulus Plain was the next one, I think.
Yes, he was indeed. And he says, for 100 Norwegian krona, 1000 takk min. And he says, Amazon's Blue Origin has not launched a single orbital rocket jet. Tesla has Netflix in their cars. SpaceX has 1,447 operational satellites. Starlink is king. Think of the future. And yeah, I have to say that Blue Origin really ain't that impressive. Okay, fine, you were able to get William Shatner above the Kármán line, but let's put it this way: the Soviets had you beat in the 1950s with Sputnik, because that at least put something into orbit, which appears to be beyond Blue Origin's capabilities, at least right now. Maybe not theoretical possibility, but. Yeah, do better, Bezos.
He seems to be in the know. Is the Artemis program still moving forward at its normal rate, or was that?
Yes, it is moving forward at its normal rate. Its normal rate being, well, let's talk in 20 years.
Well, you forget on Captain Kirk, there's that.
But yeah, no, the Artemis program is the official NASA program. I haven't checked in on it. Like, really,
because
everyone in NASA needs to be fired for how they completely bungled this the past 30 years.
Oh, yeah.
See, it just worries me, because if they don't do that, then there's not a reason for them to fund the Starlink for them. So are they going to move forward with it? Probably.
Yeah, so they're going to, because basically they have to like redo the Saturn V with modern technology. That's kind of like much of the delay. And yeah, we got this one already, where we
what about this one?
One does not follow the other. This is where we were. Melvin Belliot says for $10. There was a lawsuit a few years ago where someone brought up the issue: when you buy a digital copy of a movie or show, you don't actually own it. You're buying the license from Amazon until they lose it. Yeah, and that's exactly right.
I think I was I think I loosely referred to this, but yes, that's exactly it. Unfortunately, it's just basically a long-term rental.
Yeah,
that goes for different markets too, because like on GTA Online, you have a whole bunch of radio stations, and if the contract runs up, it's removed. So
my
it's not
suggestion,
like you got it with the game.
My suggestion is to do like Movies Anywhere, because that way it puts it on multiple platforms for you, usually, if it's available to do so. And they all seem to keep getting bought up and conglomerated together. So sooner or later, like what George was asking earlier with the whole streaming services, we are going to see that with event, because that's the thing. Even people are still people will rent things digitally, but a lot of people are still pretty leery about buying them digitally, I think. And because of this, we've seen now, like, what was it? We went from like 3 different services down to like 2 now, basically. And the one's Vudu, owned by Fandango, which used to be like 3 or 4 different services. Then you got iTunes and you got Amazon. That's basically your choices now as to where you can buy movies from digitally. You used to have a lot more choices. And so like if like Fandango went and bought up like a couple of them, including Vudu, which was like the last big one left besides iTunes. So, and Amazon, if you count them. So like, that's what I'm saying. Like that's about where we're at. That's my suggestion, is if you're going to do that kind of stuff, do it through either Movies Anywhere or something like Amazon, to where the chances are they're going to be around for a while. Because I've had more luck doing it that way. That way it's on multiple platforms.
Or let Tom sell you on 4K. And next thing you know, you're buying 4K, 1 of 3 of them every single week.
Honestly, I didn't even get to that part as far as like quality wise. I mean, if you're somebody who actually gives more of a shit about the quality, you're not going to want to do streaming anyway, unless you have.
Bro, I just popped in that 4K Godzilla on Saturday. Holy banana frack. Whoa.
You liked it, huh?
Well, that's the thing is, like, your best 4K streaming is probably on par with just maybe a step above Blu-ray, if that. If you're
hardwired.
Yeah, exactly. And you got to have a pretty strong signal. Like Disney seems to do okay with 4K, but Now I've seen comparisons to the discs, and even though it looks good to your eye at first glance, there's still a bit of degradation there still. But Disney Plus probably has the best compression system I've seen so far of all of them.
Right, there's that one service that, like I was telling you about earlier, the Kaleidoscape. They're the only service that streams in 4K. You have to buy their system because they have licensing agreements. So it's they obviously have UHD and they have disc, but their 4K is pure 4K. You should look at it, Tom.
I'll have to check into that. Yeah. So yeah, this lawsuit did happen, and basically they just told you, yeah, you're shit out of luck if it goes away. Basically,
yep. Digital movies have an expiration date, and you're not going to know when that is.
Could be tomorrow, could be next week. What's ironic is one of the first, because it started with books. It happened on Amazon, and one of the first books to disappear for a while, ironically, was 1984.
Hey,
they lost the license on it.
You know, they probably just bought them all up because they're using them for instruction manuals.
Yeah. Melvin Belliard has another one right after that who says, Andre, don't worry if the KK news turns out to be true, and with the S show, a shit show, that Disney and Marvel are you able to afford that new, or you'll be able to afford that new home very soon.
Yeah, so always good to take like the glass half full perspective.
I'd like to buy a house sometime. That'd be nice. Yeah. Spider Unlimited says, I'm at the point. Oh, that's where I keep saying, yeah, go ahead, please put Brie Larson in a Star Wars movie.
Yeah. My God, you make videos from here to eternity.
Spider Unlimited says,
you'd have to watch it.
Right. I'm at the point of downloading and streaming out of physical space. I understand.
That's a very common problem. I mean, there's loads of people that have stopped buying DVDs and Blu-rays and what have you not for this simple reason. Their shelf, their actual IKEA shelf, is full.
Well, I actually have a decent sized living room / dining room area. Mm-hmm. And I tell you, the walls are taken up with, well, what's 90% my Blu-rays and DVDs, and then the rest is my CDs and records, because I have so much physical media. But what I've done is I've gone through now, and a lot of the stuff that I have on DVD and Blu-ray, I've gotten rid of the copies unless there's something I have to keep it for. But like I know, Andre, you went and transferred it all over to a digital Plex service kind of thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. So like my physical collection, just for simplicity and ease of use and stuff like that, I simply just took my own physical media, and I do keep the physical media, but I kind of like the stuff that I don't want to display in shelf, I kind of like have in storage. And then I have like the only very, very select cream of the crop. That's kind of like what I keep the displayed. And everything else I've just dumped into a hard drive and play it on Kodi. And according to Norwegian law, I can do that because Norwegian law has declared that it's perfectly legal to take digital copies of your own physical media.
Technically, it is here.
Yeah.
And then there's also this choice as well for another ease of use. Spider Unlimited says, I'm at the point of downloading and streaming out of physical space. Is there a service that you know of that can transfer DVDs over? I have Vudu, but they charge $5 per movie for conversion. No, that's pretty much the only other way other than what Andre just said. That's the best and only way I know to do it. But in most cases, you can almost buy a Blu-ray with a digital copy for like $6-7 or cheaper in most cases. So
you can't just put it in your computer and save it.
Technically, yes, you legally can. That's what Andre is talking about.
And that's what I do. But of course, I have to have I have to have like a NAS on the side to do it because I have like 20 terabytes of storage space for
yeah, exactly. That's the thing, though. Is that all in one unit?
All of that is in, well, it's in one unit with spread across 5 hard drives.
Yeah, exactly.
With like fail safes and everything.
That'd be the thing that would scare the shit out of me, because once in a while you'll have a corruption in the hard drive.
Exactly, but here's like the thing. That's why you want to use a NAS. Because there you have like various ways of security. So you have like the data spread across multiple hard drives, and you have like the system that is such that if one or more hard drives suddenly calls it a day, then you have enough information on the others that you can restore all of the missing information.
Is the NAS like Andre like a RAID system used to be?
Yes, that's RAID.
Yes.
Okay.
That's exactly what it's like RAID. So you can choose if you want like RAID 2, RAID 5. So Jesse, there is technical solutions for that. So you want a NAS?
Like the digital sampling of music where they would take like a millisecond and put it on this hard drive, a millisecond on the next, and on the next.
Exactly.
Over so that you
exactly. Like
saying,
for instance, you have like a 20%. So you split up the content. So like 20% is on that hard drive, 20 on that hard drive, 20 on that, and 20 on that. And then if up to as much as 2 fails, that's enough. That with the software that is there plus the remaining 60% that you have on all the others is enough to restore the missing section.
Now, how is it to set that up though? Is it a pain in the ass?
That is a pain in the ass, but that is a pain in the ass, but it can be done.
So you have to set up these 5 hard drives or X amount of hard drives with your computer and then hook it up to a TV.
What you do is that you get like the separate like NAS, which is its own thing, and it's in this thing that you put the hard drive. So many hard drives it's made for. That can be as little as 2. It can be up to 20, depending on your needs. But for like most users, you'll have one that like an entertainment NAS is like typically like 4 or 5 hard drives. And you can easily get like up to like 20-30 terabytes of space for that.
Yeah, that's a ton.
And this then typically is something that you don't connect directly up to your computer. You connect it to your router.
Oh,
and then you control it over the Wi-Fi. So first you set up what kind of RAID level protection you want. And then it's simply a matter of
I was gonna say there's similar technology, I believe, in like an Xbox and stuff where you can.
Yeah, exactly. And then you simply stream from there over your Wi-Fi.
My only issue with
your
that
device,
is I've done that,
whatever.
And I have degradation problems once in a while, depending on what's going on in the house. That's my
okay.
Tom, you're a picture quality whore.
That's my problem. Yeah.
And what you would do with that, like for instance, that's one of the way that you can do it. But what I have, for instance, is that I have the huge NAS for like storage, but then I have like 5 terabyte separate hard drive that I just plug straight into the Kodi, and that's where I have like the library of stuff that I watch on a day-to-day basis. So then
how big is the overall thing? Like, how big is it? Could you take it over and watch it at Timmy's house? And you'll have.
Would not. Well, here's like the thing that you can set it up so that you can watch it from Timmy's house by accessing the NAS from there. You can log into the NAS and see everything that you allow to be shared from it. So you can set that up.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah.
We do have to start wrapping up here, but we did have another super chat from Tennille. I did an interview with Gene Carnan in college nearly a decade ago. He lamented that NASA is focusing on space exploitation and forgetting exploration. I know this is something that is near and dear to your heart as well, Andre. But I know
don't even fucking get me started.
I was going to say, NASA. I was going to say, it'll take way too long for you to get into it, but yeah, there's a lot of people who agree with you, I believe, Tennille. So you're not alone in those feelings. I think I can speak for Andre on that.
Don't worry, there's going to be a theme park on the moon. I saw it on Futurama.
I'm going to make my own.
I probably will in time.
But at another time, we'll definitely get into that because I know Andre has a lot to say about that, and he has in the past. So. Yeah. STR Red Wolf says you can buy a Synology NAS that takes care of setting up the RAID, add Plex to it, and stream it to your TV like a Roku stick. Yep, exactly. I think that's basically.
Or you can also do like the low version solution. You have that as a storage, and if like Tom, you're worried about like everything else, then have a mini hard drive that you physically connect to.
That's kind of what I have. Otherwise, I have like a little.
But yeah, as success with that, I believe it's time to wrap up.
Yeah, I think we should. So check out George's channel, George the Giant Slayer. Check out Jesse at the Crow's Nest. Check out Script Doctor. Mexican Iron Man has his own channel as well, but he produces like every show on YouTube. So check him out wherever he's at that time of the day. Is anybody got anything specific they want to plug real quick before we do run?
No, I just have my Eternals review is up. I'm going to be reviewing Ghostbusters this week.
Yeah,
specifically.
Well, maybe we can throw you
Ghostbusters, we have a Ghostbusters video coming in 45 minutes.
And here is the link for that in the chat. You can park up and wait for that. That'll be dropping real soon there, kids. We want to thank you all for being here, and we want to say take care of yourselves and each other. And with that, I believe it is time for some marsupials in the rain.
And check out Toxic Femininity later tonight.
That is true as well.
Yeah.
Good night.
Koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given, koala, koala.